Luo Xiaoqing rubbed her sleepy eyes and lifted her head from the desk. Outside the window was the familiar urban night scene, with skyscraper lights flashing like a pile of sleepless fireflies. She had just finished watching a fantasy novel, and her mind was still echoing with the plot of the hero saving the world. Ah, if only I could also travel through time, become a female hero, and summon a tornado with a wave of my hand, how cool. She muttered to herself, stretched lazily, and casually threw her phone onto the bed. Suddenly, the air in the room twisted, like heat waves rolling on the floor. Xiaoqing blinked her eyes, thinking the air conditioner was broken, but immediately after, a blinding blue light burst from the ceiling, enveloping her entire body. The world spun around, she felt like she was being sucked into a washing machine, dizzily screaming, Hey, what the hell is this? Is it an earthquake? When her vision cleared, she was already kneeling in a magnificent hall. Surrounding her were towering stone pillars, carved with shimmering runes, and the air was filled with the scent of incense, mixed with a faint dampness of stone. Xiaoqing rubbed her knees and looked up. A group of priests in long robes were staring at her with wide eyes, the leading old man holding a golden scepter in his hand, with the top of the scepter still faintly glowing. Brave one! You have finally come! The old man shouted excitedly, his voice trembling like leaves in the wind. The gods have heard your summons, our wishes have come true. The Dark Demon King is about to resurrect, only you can save the Iron Continent. Xiaoqing's mind was buzzing, she got up and patted the dust off her but, what? Brave one. Iron Continent? Uncle, is this a cosplay convention? I was just watching dramas at home. She looked around, the dome of the temple was painted with star patterns, the flickering candlelight illuminated the murals on the walls, epic scenes of swords and magic. The air was cool, mixed with the smoke of candles, making her shiver. This is absolutely not a dream, she pinched her own arm, and it hurt so much that she gasped. The high priest stepped forward and respectfully handed over a magnificent cloak, red velvet, with gold thread runes embroidered on the edges, looking extremely cool. Brave one, this is the hero cloak granted by the gods, which can enhance your magical power. Please accept your mission. The subordinates of the Demon King have begun to ravage the border villages, we need you. Xiaoqing took the cloak and put it on her shoulders, feeling a warm current surge into her body, like drinking a cup of hot chocolate. She felt a little excited in her heart. Is this the benefit of time travel? Alright, since I'm here, let's play and see. Tell me, what is my superpower? Flying through the sky and escaping from the earth? Or teleportation? The high priest smiled, the gods have granted you a powerful magic golden finger, which can summon destructive forces. But please be careful, the magic is unstable, with a high risk of backlash. Come, let us activate it. They led Xiaoqing to the central altar of the temple, where a crystal ball was floating in the air, emitting a soft light. Xiaoqing put her hand on it, instantly, a heat wave surged from her palm straight to her forehead. She felt something awakening inside her body, like a phone suddenly fully charged, buzzing. Wow, this feeling, super awesome. She shouted excitedly, and in her mind appeared a bunch of magic options, fireball technique, ice arrow rain, lightning chain. Let's try the fireball technique. Xiaoqing whispered impatiently, making a clumsy gesture with her hands. In the air, red light began to condense, a fist-sized fireball formed at her fingertips, with blue flames jumping on the surface, and the heat wave rushing towards her, making the surrounding priests step back a few steps. Too amazing. The brave one's potential is unlimited. A young priest couldn't help but exclaim. Xiaoqing proudly raised her eyebrows, watch me. She pushed hard, and the fireball whistled out, but the direction was completely off. It wasn't flying towards the target beside the altar, but straight towards herself. Backlash. Xiaoqing's heart sank, and it was too late to dodge. The fireball expanded in the air, exploding into a splendid fireworks show, red and blue sparks flying everywhere, like fireworks during the new year, the rumbling sound shaking the temple dome. The heat wave swept in, Xiaoqing's cloak edge instantly burned, emitting a scorched smell, and she herself was flipped over by the blast, rolling on the ground, covered in dirt. Ouch! Xiaoqing coughed as she got up, with black edges on her cloak, and her hair messed up like a bird's nest. The decorations in the temple were damaged, several crystal chandeliers were blown away by the blast, clanging to the ground and shattering into shiny pieces. The priests were stunned, the originally solemn summoning ceremony instantly turned into a disaster scene, and an awkward atmosphere spread. But that explosion effect, simply magnificent like a movie blockbuster. Sparks drew arcs in the air, illuminating the entire temple as bright as day, and the priests' robes were dyed gold red. Xiaoqing rubbed her butt and couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, this is too cool. Although it hurts a bit, I feel I have super potential, right? At this moment, a white light burst out from the smoke, and a furry orange cat appeared in the air, landing elegantly, with its tail swung, and its eyes narrowed to look at Xiaoqing. Are you a brave man here to destroy the family or save the world? He just summoned him and exploded. The devil hasn't come yet. Have you destroyed the temple first? Xiaoqing widened her eyes and said, Cat. The cat who can talk. She went over and wanted to hug her, but the cat jumped to the fort with a coincidence. Hey, who are you? My pet. The cat, no, Yitong, licked his claws and said with a sharp tongue, the gods sent me to be your partner, so that you will not blow the big land into the sky alone. My name is Yitong, remember, don't set fire again. Next time you backfire, you will become a barbecue. Its voice was clearly disgusted, and its tail was tall, like a little commentator. The priest returned to God and coughed in embarrassment. Sir, this is God Yitong, it will help you take risks. Although, a little accident, your magic is indeed powerful. Please continue to move forward. Xiaoqing slammed her head and turned her heart into a flash. I originally thought I was the daughter of heaven, but in the first shot, I exploded. Death of embarrassment. But looking at Yitong's mocking eyes and the shining fragments, she suddenly felt that this strange world was not bad. Danger? A little bit. But there is more fun. She took a deep breath and thought, just be clumsy, Luo Xiaoqing, are not a person who is easy to recognize. From now on, I will be a brave man who smiles at the world. Let's take a look. Xiaoqing patted Yitong's head, it was slapped open with one claw, and then strode towards the temple door. The wind swelled behind her, and the scorched edge was still catching silk and blue smoke. Who knew that when he walked to the door, a corner of the wind was stuck on the carved door frame. She pulled hard, and the whole person was grabbed, and she stumbled back and hit a priest's arm. Oh! Xiaoqing apologized, and the priest helped her and smiled awkwardly. Sir, be careful to wear wind. Yitong was standing beside her and said, look, you can't even pass by. You are a hero who looks like a comedy clown. Pull it out quickly and don't get stuck as a dog's tail. Xiaoqing pulled the wind with a whiz, and the more she became tighter and tighter she swayed forward and backward like a pulling rod, which made the priests in the temple laugh. Finally, she was tearing and was sleepy. She pushed forward and almost fell to the ground. Looking back, there was a small piece of red cloth hanging on the door frame, like a funny flag. Ha! Open the door. Xiaoqing smiled self-deprecatingly, patted her wind and left the temple. The outside is a wide stone terrain. The sun is in the forest far away, and the monster's growl is hidden in the wind. Yitong jumped on her shoulder and muttered, for the first adventure, let's start with not breaking up the house. As the sun is a little clear, a sense of determination arises in my heart. The wind of the strange world blew her hair, she clamped her fists and prepared to welcome the unknown smiling journey. Terms, 1287. Xiaoqing took a deep breath of the fresh air around the forest. The sun shone through the branches of the ancient trees in the sky, like gold powder sprinkled on the moss-covered ground. The wind blew over, carrying the mixed fragrance of soil and wild flowers, and the gurgling sound of the streams far away, making her forget the awkward self-destruction show at the temple. She swayed lightly on her shoulders, and the burnt edges still scented with a faint smell of smoke. She patted it and muttered herself, "Old thing, don't make trouble for me again." Yitong squatted on her shoulder, her tail swayed like a clock, and her green eyes slapped at the bushes beside Xiaozi. "Hey, Miss Brave, this forest is not a park walk. The devil's minions are everywhere, and your magical golden fingers suck me again. My hair cannot afford the second wash." Xiaoqing rolled her eyes and walked forward along the winding earth. The fallen leaves under the feet make a crisp sound of stomping, and occasionally the chirping of birds comes from the top, making this fantasy world feel unexpectedly concerned. "Come on, you cats are quite verbose." The priests in the temple said, "I am the God-selected brave man, and saving the mainland is just around the corner." I encountered a few little monsters at the top, and they knelt down with a magic spell. The voice fell, green figures appeared from the bushes ahead, a group of goblins. These little monsters are only as tall as Xiaoqing's waist, with rough skin as skin, red eyes as red charcoal, and holding raw short swords and wooden sticks in their hands, making a harsh, gulling sound. The leader of the goblin leader is even more powerful. He has a crooked bone crown on his head, a big stick dancing, and roaring in a saliva, human. Fresh meat. Brothers, go. Xiaoqing was startled and took a step back, half a step, and the soil at the bottom of her feet almost collapsed. My heart beat like a drum, and I panicked. This is not a game, this is a real monster. The smelly smell came to her nose, mixed with the sourness of the rotten fruit, which made her stomach swell. "Wow, you're going to start soon. Yitong, what should I do?" Yitong stretched out her claws, and her hair rose like a small thorn under her shoulders. "Idiot, don't be stunned. Use magic. But remember, don't let it go." It flexibly tilted to the tree roots on the side, blinking as if looking forward to the beating. The goblin group came up, and the short sword flashed in the cold light under the sun, and its feet stomped on the fallen leaves rustled. Xiaoqing gritted her teeth, and a magic option appeared in the sea of brain, Wind Blade Summons. She stretched out her hands forward, clumsily plotting a rotation hand, muttering, "The spirit of the wind, listen to my order, yes." The air suddenly became restless, and the leaves were swept up by invisible force, making a cry, like a low murmur before the wind. Blue blades condensed at the fingertips, and the edges were able to cut the air and carried a thunderous buzzing buzz. "That's great, it's stable this time." Xiaoqing wanted to push it out. But just as the wind blade was about to shoot out, the backlash came again. The magical energy flowed against the flow, and the wind blade not only did not fly towards the monster, but instead exploded into a small wind around her. The wild wind burst out, the sound of cracking branches spreading across the forest, and the fallen leaves danced like rain. Xiaoqing felt as if she was being sucked into the center of the dragon's rolling style, and her skirt and squid flew around, screaming, "Aw, come again. Stop." Not only her, the nearby goblins were also rolled in. The monsters were busy and flew out, and their gurgling sound turned into a terrifying sharp howl. The whole forest tiny instantly became a porridge, the wind blade fragments were shattered everywhere, leaving white marks after being rolled over the trees, and the air was filled with the fishy smell of the soil rolling. Xiaoqing rolled in the air, her eyes turned dizzy, and the green monsters stood around her and fought around, like a ridiculous aerial party. "Help! Why don't you hear this style?" Xiaoqing shouted in her heart, and reached out to grab it in panic, trying to calm her body. The wind has become a life-saving straw. No, it is a trait. A corner suddenly stuck on the branches of a thick rubber tree on the side of the road, and the red cloth was as tight as a bar. The wind pulled down, and she was grabbed and the slab fell down. First, she straightened her wind, and she threw it towards one side like a bell, hitting two flying goblins. Then the wind weakened, she rolled down, and the wind stuck another branch, popped back, hitting the head's brain. Bang! With a slight roar, the goblin leader's head flew away, his eyes turned pale and fell to the ground. Xiaoqing fell down and her wind finally opened. She fell on the soft grass, with gray faces and mud on her body. The special effect of the wind blade explosion is intense. The blue air blew up in the forest, turning into flashing smoke fires, reflecting the trees and shadows, like a crazy party in the forest. The remaining wind blades swept across the monster group, and several goblins were injured, wailing and fleeing in all directions, leaving behind a full branch and scattered weapons. Yitong pulled out from behind the tree, and her claws gently knocked down the last goblin, pressed its neck with one claw, and complained, "Is your magic a self-service disaster difficult? Remember to spread the wind first next time. This is not a battle, it is clearly a scrambled performance in the air. Look at your wind, the branches of the tree look like a clothes-drying hanger, ha." Its claws slammed, and the goblin was scared to put down a wooden stick, and fled into the bush with its tail. Yitong turned around, licking her paws elegantly, and her eyes were filled with a turbulent light. However, it's a good idea to accidentally smash the leader. Has your clumsiness actually turned into a weapon? Xiaoqing got up panting and hung on her body with a wind, with several tearing holes on her sides. She patted the soil on her face, heard the silence of birds around her and the rustling sound of winding over the trees, and her heart came from a moment of panic. The monster group has failed. Although she was a coincidence, she really won. Thinking back to the moment when the wind was stuck, she suddenly flashed, this thing is not only tiring, but may it be a temporary weapon? Just like just now, the clamped branches are pulled and the head is smashed directly. Clumsy. No, this is my unique skill. A small sense of confidence sprouted in her heart, and she grinned, "Hey, Yitong, you said it right. This stagnant technique is super practical. Next time I will practice it, and it will become a stick in the air, specializing in treating all kinds of dissatisfaction." Yitong jumped back to her shoulders, her tail gently swept over her neck, and the slight touch made Xiaoqing unable to help but shrink. "Stop talking, brave. Just now, you're so scared that your face turned white and you're confident. But, the cooperation is good, I'll help you with claws, you provide a fire show, this combination is quite good." Its voice is less swaying, more warmth, and green eyes are swelling, as if saying, "You're such a fool, okay." Xiaoqing touched Yitong's head, but this time it did not hide, and it made a satisfying cry. "Partner. Feel good." In the crisis just now, this cat not only complained, but also really helped a lot. A warm current surged in her heart, and she said softly, "Thank you, Yitong. Without you, I guess I've been gnawed by a goblin. I'll ask you to eat fish next time, okay?" Fish? Fish in the strange world is inevitable. Yitong hummed, but her tail slapped on her arm, as if she had acquainted with this feeling. The two people, one cat and one girl, continued to move forward. The sunlight on the little one was brighter, and the wind blades left in the air brought the slightest sense. As he was getting low, a blue light flashed across his foot, a magic talisman. It is embedded in the soil, with ancient runes engraved on the surface, and its touch is like a stream, emitting a dynamic light. Xiaoqing lifted it up and wiped it cleanly, feeling a warm energy flowing into his fingertips, but it was not activated yet. "What is this? Baby?" She shook her talisman, and the blue light reflected on her face, like a little star. Yitong sniffed it almost. "It looks like an ancient thing, which can stabilize the magic backlash. If it is not activated, it is probably necessary to have a specific stance. But for you, a bomber expert, you will definitely be a savior. Keep it away, don't let it go again." Xiaoqing carefully stuffed it into her wind-like inner bag and thought to herself, "Good stuff. Maybe I can't let my magic self-destruct in the future." The adventure continued, but her pace was much faster. The wind slid lightly in the wind, the stuck marks were like seals, and Yitong's weight was warmly pressed on her shoulders. In this strange world, she smiled and laughed, and she began to think that she could do it. The little circle turned around, and an old village appeared in front of him, and the smoke rose. Xiaoqing squinted her eyes and felt nervous. "Is it difficult to tell if you are both troublesome?" Yitong whispered, "Prepare your stale operation, brave. It seems that the party is not over yet." Number of words, 1268. Xiaoqing stepped on the muddy little, and the sunlight gradually became sparse, and the air deep in the forest became damp and sticky, as if it was wrapped in a thin layer of mist. The trees grew taller and taller, and the branches and leaves formed a green sky. Occasionally, water droplets slid down from the tip of the leaves, hitting her shoulders, and swaying straightened her spine. Yitong curled up on her styling, her tail swung gently, and her green eyes swept vigilantly around her. The village is right in the fog in front, and it smells like toast and smoke. But don't be careless, the swamp in this forest is not a joke. If you step on the empty foot, you will become a soup chicken. It was sunny and my head was light, and my shoes were stepped on the moist mossy, making a sound of gurgling. The just-in-one goblin battle made her excited and still felt the blue light talisman in her hand, touching the ice silence like a stream, making her heart feel bleak. Don't worry, I'm an old world now. The trick of wind-clad tree branches is simply a magical pen. Next time there will be monsters, I will throw them directly in the air. She patted the wind-clad cloth, the red cloth swaying lightly, and the burnt edges still had a faint burnt smell. It was said to be relaxed, and the ground ahead suddenly sank, and a forest swamp suddenly appeared. The ground is covered with duckweed and rotten leaves, which looks flat and actually soft and erect like a sea of scents. The air was filled with rotten smell, mixed with the fishy moisture of the soil, making the nose clear. Why is there a smell of eggs in this place? Yitong, right? Yitong's ears moved, and her claws grabbed her shoulders lightly. It's too late, idiot. You've stepped in. Sure enough, Xiaoqing's right foot sank, and the whole person moved forward. His shoes were trapped in the swamp, mud and water bubbling, and the cold touch instantly climbed up his calf. She screamed, stepped back in panic, and heard the sound of popping. After hearing the wind stuck, it was stuck. A thick vine covered with wind, holding it tightly as if it was alive. The suction of the swamp pulled her, and the vines pulled in the opposite direction. Her whole body shook forward and backward like a pull, her skirt squiddly squid, and her legs were covered with dirt. Ah! This wind is coming again. It's loose. Xiaoqing pulled hard, and the vine became tighter. She snatched forward, almost kissing mud and water. She pulled back and was sucked by the swamp again. Her shoes were stripped off, floating on the water like a small boat. The funny start of the ring, the wind stuck the vine, she threw it to the left, hitting the short tree on the road, the branches whipped the face, and the pain was mixed. She threw it back to the right, and then smashed into the water area, splashing all the water, making the hair moist. Her voice and muddy water were rumbling in the forest, like a ridiculous tug-of-war competition. Help! This is not a risk, this is a mud BSPA. Xiaoqing's heart collapsed, and the self-destruction of the brain flashed through the temple and the goblin's air party. Why is this happening every time? She gritted her teeth and decided to use magic to get sleepy. Water element summons. A choice appeared in her brain. She planned a wave hand with her hands and said, "The spirit of water, listen to me and call me, and the floating bridge will help me to take off." The moisture in the air condensed, and blue water flowed around her fingertips, and the surface was flashing towards silver light, twisting like a live fish. The duckweed on the edge of the swamp began to turn over, and the water surface was slightly raised, as if it was about to form a bridge. It's done. It's absolutely stable this time. Xiaoqing thought excitedly. But the backlash came as if it was about to come. Not only did the water flow not hear the bridge, it exploded into a small flood all over her. The energy reverses, the blue light bursts, and a loud sound is loud. The water column rises like a spring, reaching several meters high, surrounded by the rainbow-like seven-color light fog, spraying in the air, like a fire show that has been extinguished in the water park. As the flood fell, the swamp turned into a wild river. The mud and water mixed with duckweed and branches, making the surrounding trees sway and leaves fall like rain. Xiaoqing was rolled up by the waves, rolled up in the air, her wind was moist, like a heavy rag, pulling her downwards. The monster is here. Several water frogs were scattered from deep into the swamp. These guys were fat and slim and green, their eyes were bulging like lights, and their mouths opened and their gurgling low growled. They were originally guarding the nest, but now they were shocked by the flood. They caught up with them, their tongues were thrown out like whips, trying to capture Xiaoqing's legs. The whole scene was in a group, the water waves swept through the monster's nest, and the hidden egg sacs were rolled out, smashed on the trees and shattered, and the mucus was filled with slime. The rainbow fog spread across the forest, reflecting the water surface, like a disaster-spreading party. Xiaoqing slammed in the water, drank a sip of mud and water, coughed and screamed, "Stop! This is not a floating bridge, this is a sea." Yitong burst out at once, her hair was covered with moist hair, but her claws were firmly grasping a piece of driftwood. Its tail swung, pointing toward a hidden stone road along the swamp. It was a clean beach hidden under duckweed. "Are you saving the world or taking a shower party? Swim over here. Don't let those toads lick you." Yitong's complaints were like life-saving straw, and the sound was particularly clear in the sound of water, carrying a hint of anxiety. Its claws swept water, flexibly on the road ahead, and its tail swung like a flag. Xiaoqing heard the sound of the trench and swam towards the stone road through the water. The flood unexpectedly helped. The water frog's beast was tilted and tilted, the nest was flooded, and the egg sac flowed down, and the monsters were cooing and unable to catch up, hitting the tree roots and turning heads. The special effects of the magic explosion reach climax, the rainbow fog sprays like smoke, and the blue and green will intertwines illuminate the entire swamp and turn the crisis into a visual feast. Xiaoqing finally climbed onto the stone road and sat there, moistening her body, dripping with water from her hair, and her wind stuck to her body like a second-layer skin. The monster's nest has been sealed by the flood, and the ruthless sound of the gulp is announced. She gasped, her heart was overturned. The panic was still there, but looking at the flooded nest and Yitong's humid and proud eyes, she suddenly realized, magic is not born with it, this golden finger is powerful, but I always come and never practice it. The temple self-destruction, the air show of wind blades, the water paradise, every time it is resolved by air. To be strong, you can't be clumsy anymore, you have to learn it seriously. A heart ignited in my heart, like a clear stream after a flood. She clenched her fists and said in a low voice, "From today, I want to practice magic. It's okay to be clumsy, but I can't always retaliate against myself. Yitong, thank you for saving my life." Yitong shook her hair, threw out the water droplets and snorted Xiaoqing's face, and snorted, "Stop being smeared. Your magic is like a prize drawer. If you draw a big prize, you will explode monsters. If you draw a mold, you will flood yourself. Practice is to practice, but dry your clothes first, don't catch a cold, be a brave man." Its tail touched her hand lightly, as if it was comforting, and the warm light was flashing in its green eyes. At this moment, the storm of the swamp was heard and a figure walked out of the mist. The tall and upright man was wearing leather armor, with a snail on his waist, his hair was as terrible as a straw blown by the wind, and a playful smile was hanging on his face. He was carrying a long staff in his hand, and the head of the staff was embedded with green stones. The flood just now made the corners of his robe moisten half. "Ha, this scene is good. Little girl, you are a new adventurer, right? The magic special effects are full, but the control is zero." The man laughed, his voice was as loud as a clock, his eyes narrowed into pieces, full of interest. Xiaoqing jumped up, retreating vigilantly, dripping with water. "Who are you? Peeking at us taking a bath?" Yitong immediately bleated and her paws lit up. "Be careful, this guy looks like a scattered person, but it's human to smell. What's the point?" The man surrendered and smiled even more. "Don't be nervous, my name is Xuan, a free adventurer. He is patrolling the woods to guard against the Demon King's men. I just heard the silence that I didn't expect to witness a water ballet. Your magic is quite creative, drowning the water frog, saving me a lot of energy." He approached, patted Xiaoqing's shoulder, but was fogged by the slaughtered magic smoke. The rainbow fog had not dissipated, and it carried a sweet fog and penetrated my nose. He coughed and stepped back, his face red like a cooked squid. Ahem, is this smoke poisonous? Your magical squirt is so fierce. Xiaoqing couldn't help laughing, and the awkward smoke disappeared just now. Ha, I'm sorry. That's the backlash effect. I'll control it better next time. Brother Swan, are you a local? Can you teach me some fighting skills? For example, how can you not make the wind a trap? Xuan rubbed his nose, stood up straight, and his eyes turned from sarcasm to seriousness. Of course. Look at your wind and cat companion, you probably are the brave men in the temple call, right? Mainland needs you, a newcomer like you. The basic skills are simple. First stabilize your body, use a sword or a stick to block it, and magic will be used as a backhand. Come on, I will show you. He pulled out his waist and lightly on the stone block. The tip of the sword drew out a flowing arc line, and the wind sounded and stopped accurately 1 inch in front of the sunny nose. Did you see it? The strength is coming from the waist, don't throw it like you just now. Xiaoqing's eyes lit up, imitating the plot. No, she didn't do it, just used her hands to play, and she swung it up again in the wind, pulling Swan's legs. Ah! I'm sorry. She quickly apologized. Xuan rubbed his legs and laughed. Ha, the first class of the team, wind management. This thing is a bad thing, but it has to be tight. Let's go, I'll join you all the way to the village. The devil's minions are becoming more and more rampant. With me teaching you, I will guarantee that they will not always go to the water park. He blinked, and the smoke was still rising in the party, which made him cough 2 more times, which made Xiaoqing and Yitong laugh loudly. Yitong jumped onto Swan's shoulder and sniffed it out, newbie. Okay, but don't be connected by her explosion. Brave, remember what I said, practicing magic starts basically. The 3 people, a cat, walked along the stone road, the smoke behind the swamp was scattered, the shape of the village was clear, and the smoke rose in the sunset. Xiaoqing felt warm in her heart. Xiao An's joining made the team complete. She touched the talisman and thought to herself, practice, start now. The forest was almost roaring and was coming, but this time, she was no longer afraid. Terms, 1246. As he walked slowly on the dirt road beside the village, the sunset was growing on the wooden sill, pulling out long orange-red shadows, like a warm painting. The smell of toasted bread was filled with the air, and the smoke from the firewood was filled with it, making her kuchleep. The village is not big, with dozens of thatched huts scattered on a lawn, surrounded by simple wooden veranda columns, and in the fields far away, several farmers are catching herds of cattle, with cows rising up, accompanied by the children's playful sounds. This place looks as peaceful as the border town in fairy tales, not like the war zone under the devil's threat. I finally got some smoke. Brother Xuan, what is the name of this village? Do you have hot soup and clean clothes? Xiaoqing turned around and asked, and the wind was still dripping with the swampy water, which made her feel uncomfortable when she stuck to her body. Her hair was terrible, like a chicken blown by the wind, and the just flood made her look like a soup dumpling. Xuan smiled, and the scabbard gently touched the slam, making a crisp sound. This is the village of the border, Oak Village. The village chief is an old man, and he is not wrong, but the wolves have been terrified recently, and the Demon King's dark energy has caused the wild animals to get crazy. Go in, I'll go and listen. He pushed a squeaking wooden door, and the oil on the door was dry, and the smell of Chen Yan's wood was filled with the air. Yitong jumped off Xiaoqing's shoulder, her claws lightly on the ground, and her tail was tall. Wolf pack. Listen to the savory dish that looks like meat, furry, but don't let your magic turn the entire village into a roasted pot. Brave, remember, don't be strong, ask the situation first. It glanced at Xiaoqing with green eyes, as if reminding her not to explode again. A few villagers soon surrounded the entrance of the village, dressed in a plain manner and covered with frost on their faces. A middle-aged woman spoke first, and her voice was as anxious as a tree in the wind. Outsiders. Are you adventurers? Please help me. The wolves are coming every day, and they killed 2 sheep last night. The food in the village is almost impossible to keep up. She pointed to the forest far away. Under the sunset, the shadows of the trees swayed, and a deep howling sound came, like a warning in front of the night. Xiaoqing tightened her heart and clenched her fists. Just now, the crisis of Zhou's is still in sight, but now there are Shuan and Yitong, and she feels that she is not a lonely army. Don't panic. We're here. I'm the brave Luo Xiaoqing, this is my partner. Where are the wolves? Leave them to me. She straightened her chest and looked confident in the trial. I muttered in my heart, let's use thunder magic, this time I practice control, there will be no backlash. The village chief, an old man with a white turtle, walked over with a cane, narrowing his eyes and looking at them carefully. Brave? The temple summoned? Great. The wolf pack is in the east forest, with giant wolf leading the way, with red eyes as blood. The hunters in the village tried, but they were too fierce. It's so irritating you, and we'll thank you later. He patted Xiaoqing's shoulder, and the crutches sounded like a sound, carrying a stream of trust from the elder. Xuan Ting, let's go and have a look. Xiaoqing, you are ready for magic, and I am surrounded by Yitong's side wings. Remember, the team fights, don't fuck. His voice was steady, like a stone road in the swamp, which made Xiaoqing feel relieved. She pointed and felt that this was the first time she really looked like a leader. The 3 people, a cat, just walked into the forest and the wolf howl exploded. More than a dozen gray wolf burst out from the shadows, with fluffy hair, eyes flashing with the red light of the Demon King, and teeth are white in the twilight. The giant wolf with its head was like a calf, its claws were rustling, its mouth dripping on the lawn, and its fishy smell came over its nose. The wolves roared and surrounded them, and their feet stomped, shattering like drums. Go! Xiaoan pulled out the sword, and the sword blade flashed coldly under the sun. He held the 2 winged wolves on his side, and raised the tip of the sword, forcing them to retreat. Yitong rolled up the branches, and her claws were swept down like a flash, blinding a wolf's eyes and causing a wail. Hurry, brave! Where is your smoke show? It shouted, the sound was particularly harsh in the howling of the wolf. Xiaoqing took a deep breath and a thunder and electricity option appeared in the sea of his brain. Confidence surges, I am stable this time, with my partner to protect me, I will cast spells carefully. She had both hands high and made a plan to make a flashing hand, saying, the god of thunder, listen to me and slap. The air instantly ignited, and the buzzing sounded like a swarm of bees. The blue and purple arc jumped at the fingertips, and the hot waves filled with the smell of ozone, which made the surrounding grass leaves slightly burn. A thick thunder column condensed, with a silver snake on the surface, resting on it waiting to be developed. Look at me. Xiaoqing pushed hard, and the thunder ejected, but the backlash was like a shadow. With the energy reversed, the thunder pillar not only did not hit the wolf pack, but instead exploded into a scattered smoke curtain around her. The huge waves of the forest shook, and the blue and purple light shone everywhere, emitting like a fire. The arc turned into a Venus rain, falling on the lawn, illuminating the wolves' figures. The smoke spreads, carrying a pungent burnt smell, mixed with the sound of thunder, like an unexpected fire show. Xiaoqing felt numb all over her body, and the current flowed over, and her hair stood like a thorn in an instant, and her blazing smoke rose from her wind. She screamed, ah! It's coming to her again. How can this thunder love her family? The wolves were stunned by this sudden special effect. The giant wolf head and head retreated, and the red eyes were filled with shock. The fire and smoke cover the sky and the sun, making them think that the heavenly disaster was coming. The little wolves ran around, their claws trampling on the soil, and their wailing sounds swept through the forest, like a wheel's convention. The villagers saw this scene far away and shouted, Smoke Warrior! God, she summoned the wrath of the sky. But the crisis is not over. Xiaoqing stumbled back in the smoke, her hair swaying like an airline, her vision was blurred, and her pace was inconsistent. After the wind was blowing, I suddenly became tight, I stuck the village siege. She just retreated to the edge, and the red cloth was covered with wooden twigs, as if she was hooked by fish lines. Although the wolves were scared to escape most, several wolves caught up with them, and their red eyes flickered at her. Xiaoqing pulled the wind hard, but the whole person was pulled, and he pulled the steel forward and backward. He pulled it forward and hit the raid, and the wood chips flew. He pulled it backward, and was approached by the wolf again, and his teeth wiped his arms, which made him feel so painful. The chase drama was staged, and she was moving around the siege like a living target, her figure twisted in the smoke, and her hair was still crackling, causing the wolf to hesitate. Help! This wind is my star. Xiaoqing's heart collapsed, and the brain flashed past the swamps and forests before. Why is it always me? But this time, she didn't panic and shouted, Xuan! Yitong! Help! The feeling of her partner was overwhelmed, and she was no longer a fool brave man who fought alone. Yitong burst out of the smoke, her claws swung towards a wolf, biting its ears, and making it scream. Your style is so powerful that the wolf can't stand it anymore. Open it quickly, I'll stop it. It complained, with a smile on its voice, and its tail swung, knocking down another wolf, allowing it to roll into the smoke. When Swan arrived in time, the sword light flashed and solved the last two wolves. After the blade was plotted, the smell of blood mixed into the smoke. He turned around and grabbed Xiaoqing's arm, and cut off the stuck cloth strip. Team cooperation, it's clear. Your fire show opens, we'll finish it. Look, the wolf pack is all running away. He gasped, his eyes full of praise. The smoke curtain was scattered, the forest was restored to peace, leaving only scorched earth and scattered wolf hair. The villagers came and shouted at Xiaoqing, smoking warrior. You saved us. The children threw wild flowers, and the woman served them with a hot soup, and the fragrance sniffed. Xiaoqing rubbed Feng's hair and smiled embarrassedly, ha, the energy is just good. Next time I will control it well and I won't let it backfire. Her heart was warm. If it weren't for Suan and Yitong, I would have been gnawed by a wolf. The team turned out to be so reliable. I can't always rely on my energy, I have to learn to lead everyone and become stronger together. From clumsy smiles to real leaders, it feels good. The village chief walked over and passed a roll of sheepskin map and a bag of supplements, dry crusts, water bags and a few bottles of medicine. The touch was rough and realistic. Thank you, brave. This map marks the road to Silver Leaf City, which has the Adventurers Guild, which can help you upgrade your equipment. But beware, the devil's power is expanding, and recently there has been a news that the black fog covers the central plains and the monsters are getting stronger and stronger. Silver Leaf City is the next point, go ahead, the mainland needs you. Xiaoqing followed the map and opened it to see, the winding road is marked with symbols, and Silver City is in the northeast, with a dark shadow notes. She pointed and felt aroused in her heart, the Demon King's hands are getting longer and longer, but I'm not afraid of having a team. Thank you, village chief. Let's go. Yitong, Swan, are you ready for the next adventure? Swan patted the sword, of course. Your fire show has become our signature. Yitong jumped on her shoulder and licked her paws, just put on the wind and stop getting stuck, you can do whatever you want. The three of them smiled and left the village. The night fell, the stars were falling, and the sound of the forests coming from the far side was like telling a bigger storm. Xiaoqing touched the wind that was broken and thought to herself, growth starts with reliance. The lights of Silver Leaf City are flashing on the map, waiting for them. Number of words, 1248. The sunny wind was covered with wind, and the night wind blew from the mountains behind Oak Village, scattering the refreshing smell of pine resin and the gurgling sound of the streams far away, which made her feel cold. The map was opened in the hand, the sheepskin paper was yellow under the light of the torch, the marked road meandered upward, and Silver City had to pass through this mountain. The villagers' voices were far away, and the team's steps were knocking on the gravel road, and they were headed, and the sheaths touched the rock wall lightly. Yitong was tilted on Xiaoqing's shoulders, and its tail was swinging like a megaphone. When walking on this mountain road is like climbing a staircase, and your legs are sore. Xiaoqing complained, adding a bag to swaying around her waist, and the dry frit inside made a slight friction sound. She recalled the hot soup and flowers in the village, and her heart was still warm, but the smoke from the wolves fighting made her a little self-responsible. It backfired again, her hair turned into a thorn, and she was wiped out and she was killed. If this is the case, how can you be a hero? Suan turned his head and smiled, the torch reflected the beard on his face, and the stars were flashing in his eyes. Just be polite. This mountain is the must-do road to Silver Leaf City. The dark mist of the Demon King has not spread to this place, but be careful of wild animals and bandits. Xiaoqing, your magic is a killer. Don't rush to let go, learn the word stable first. His temperament is like a big brother, stable, which makes Xiaoqing's heart want to learn. Yitong yawned and grabbed her wind with her paws. Still. She was as stable as a master of fire last time, and the wolves were afraid to pass the festival. A brave man saves some energy and does not blow up the mountain again. Its complaints were quick, with concern, and green eyes narrowed into the fire. Xiaoqing curled her lips and touched Yitong's head. This time it didn't hide. Come on, you will know how to laugh at me. From now on, I will practice seriously. Brother Xuan, teach me how to control the backlash. She kept pace with her steps, the wind blew her hair, and the fragrance of the weeds was scattered, which made the night walk a little more concise. It was just dawn and the team had climbed halfway up the mountain. The morning fog was rippling, and the rocky road was so narrow that only one person could pass through. On both sides were steep cliffs, rustling sounds of birds and winds of pine trees. Xiaoqing wiped the sweat from the bottom of her body, and the cool touch of the water bottle in her body made her feel refreshed. Suddenly, an outrage came from the intersection ahead, stones fell and tangled with murky and deep lingerie. Xuan stood up and stopped. The sword was unsheathed and the cold light flashed. Hate, he yelled softly. Before the words were finished, more than a dozen mountains were drawn out of the fog. These garments were covered with black cloth on their faces, holding knives and irons in their hands, and greedy green light in their eyes. The head was burly, with a wolf-shaped tooth on his shoulders hanging on his shoulders, and shouted, "Outsiders! Put down the package, don't you die. This mountain belongs to us." They stepped on the gravel and flew out, and the iron rod was sniffing in the fog. The smell of sweat came over his nose, like a group of wolf-covered gems. Xiaoqing's heart beat faster, and he took a step back, half a step, and the stones at the bottom of his feet moved and slipped a little. The sense of crisis is like the current flowing, you can't come back again. She took a deep breath of earth elements in her brain. I'll come and guard. The earth wall calls. He pressed the ground with both hands and planned a stable square hand. This was taught by Shaoan in the village last night, and he specialized in the control. She said, "The spirit of the earth, protect me." The ground was slightly shaking, and the earth and stones condensed at the fingertips. A yellow-brown earth wall rose slowly, with a rough surface like a battlement, scattering the moisture of the soil. This time I felt different, the energy flowed, without the anti-current impatience. It's done. Xiaoqing thought excitedly. But the backlash still came, although it was not fierce, just like a skinny child. The earthen wall not only did not hold it back, but instead exploded under her feet into a small earthquake. The sound of the mountain is rising and falling, the ground is undulating like waves, the gravel is flying, and the smoke is spreading, like a gray-yellow smoke show. The earth is radiant, the fog of gold and yellow light reflects the spots on the cliff, and the air is filled with the smell of dust and the crispness of the rocks. The mountain robbers were caught off guard and were blown away by the shock wave. They were knocked away by the knife, and they rolled down the ramp, wailing mixed in the smoke. The earthquake is shaking. Ghost. The leader became more aware of the head, and directly popped up 3 meters high, swung the wolf tooth and hit his fellow's brain. Xiaoqing herself suffered too, the shock waves popped up her, and then the earth pile collapsed. She buried her entire body in the soft soil, leaving only her brain, like a living lump of soil. The gray face, the mouth was covered with sand, and he coughed and spit out, cough cough, why did this earth wall turn into a tomb? The special effect of smoke was extremely strong, and the yellow fog turned like a dragon roll, accidentally rolling up the shrubs on the road, revealing a hidden stone tree. There was a golden light in it, which turned out to be a mountain cave. Gold coins, gemstones and several antiques are scattered all over the ground, making them dings and flashing in the morning light. But the crisis has not been resolved. Several unflying mountains came up, dancing with irons, and trying to draw out the figure of Xiaoqing as a human. After her wind, she stuck a raised rock on the cliff, and the red cloth scattered tightly, biting like an iron. She slammed hard, and the whole person was pulled, and the tug-of-war began. She pulled forward, the pile of earth was swaying, and her brain was forward and hit a knee. She pulled back, pulled tightly with her wind, and the rock debris fell. She shook like a bell, and her hair was still hanging with mud, as funny as a mountain comedy. Shan Feng was happy. Ha, this girl is stuck. Pull her down. The iron hooked the wind on the wind and screamed, let's open. This wind is not a rosy. Yitong shook her claws toward a scattered face, and grabbed blood marks, and her green eyes glared. Are you a brave man here to plant fields or fight? You still play tug-of-war in the soil, and let's just turn into a mud man next time. Its complaints were sharp, and it said that it bit the leg of another scattered pussy, which made him stumble back, and his tail was squirting out a whisper, resolving the crisis. The sword light flashed, held 2 gazes, and the blade was drawn over the iron, and sparked 4 times. Xiaoqing, don't panic. Remember the word, stable, take a deep breath and feel the energy rise from the dantian, holding it like a sword. He shouted along the war, the sound clear as a clock in the smoke. Xiaoqing heard it and felt a sank in her heart. Why do you always mess up when you are trampled on yourself? But she gritted her teeth, closed her eyes and took a deep breath, trying to recall Swan's teaching. Energy flows slowly in the body, and this time it is not a problem. She whispered, the spirit of the earth, come again. The small area of earth wall rose, and this time it returned to its steady state, holding the iron, without backlash. Although it was a little bit smaller, but she succeeded, and she was happy, so that's it. From self-contained to a slight view, I felt like the broken sunlight, warm. The team fought together, Su and sword danced like a wind, solving 3 galas. Yitong was flexibly swaying, falling down too. Xiaoqing's stable earth wall slammed the attack. She climbed out of the mound, patted the soil, and joined the battle circle. Use small fireballs to help. This time it only retaliated against a little heat, burning a beard, which attracted laughter. The mountain was swept away, and the mouse was snatched down the mountain, leaving a mess. The smoke was scattered, and the Tibetan cave was exposed, gold coins piled into hills, and there were several talismans and an obsidian slab. The surface was engraved with the Demon King's runes, scattering the cold breath, like a cold snake letter. Xiaoqing lifted the hanging wall, touching the bone, and her eyebrows were snaking. What is this? The token of the Demon King? Looking at the runes, it seems like he is passing on some orders. She sent it to Xuan, and her heart turned deeper. The self-destruction just now was a crisis, exposing the sacred, and practicing it into a stable magic. It's clumsy, but I'm happy, I can learn it. Xuan picked up, his face was solemn, and the torch reflected the shadow between his eyebrows. It's okay. This is the token of the Demon King's shadow, used to contact his subordinates. The mountain sacred was controlled, and it is estimated that the Demon King was a little deeper than the mountain. Look, this hanging wall pointed to the northeast, the ancient temple. It tells the devil's trance, we have to go and explore it, and cut off the sacred. He put the hanging wall away and patted Xiaoqing's shoulder. It's been a good thing, and the earthen wall has just become much more stable. This is how growth is, step by step. The team sat on the road, gnawing on the dried rice dumplings. The morning fog dissipated, and the sun shone under the golden fog. Yitong licked the mud on her paws and snorted, token. It sounds like marijuana. But there is a hiding, I don't object. Brave, your tug of war is so funny. Next time I will help you cut the wind. Xiaoqing smiled and poked it on the nose. Go to you. Thank you, if it weren't for the team, I would have buried the soil and couldn't come out. Xuan stared at the torch rest, his voice became low, and shared the past. When I said that, I was like you, a novice adventurer. I first encountered a demon and shot it with a rocket, which backfired the eyebrows of my teammates. At that time, I was so responsible that I wanted to retreat, but my partner said that I was wrong as a teacher. Later, I practiced the shadow art and broke through the darkness. Now it's time for you, it's sunny. Let's go together in the ancient world. His eyes were warm, like my brother's encouragement, and Xiaoqing's heart was warm. The relationship is closer, from the teacher to the friend. It's sunny and tightly, holding the small piece of soil tightly. I just practiced the destruction, and the touch is real. Okay. Go to the ancient temple and silence the devil king. You're so honest. She patted the red cloth and sang lightly in the wind. The mountain road continues to move upward, concealing the style of ancient temples, like telling the bigger laughter and challenge. The team's pace was synchronized, and the laughter was rumbling in the fog. Although the lights in Silver City were far away, the shadow of the ancient temple was already in front of us. Terms, 1242. Xiaoqing took a deep breath of the morning breeze of the mountain, and the refreshing pine beads and the swaying snow peaks, which made her feel refreshed. The mountain road has crossed halfway, the gravel road has become steep, and vines are climbing on both sides of the cliffs, like a giant green net that is hiding in the mist. The torch was still burned in the bag, and the long staff in his hand knocked on the rocks lightly, making a rhythmic sound. Yitong was tilted on her shoulders, and her tail occasionally swept over her neck. Her erect touch seemed to remind her not to be distracted. This ancient temple here's the scene of a horror movie, the devil's evil spirit. No ghost will jump out, right? Xiaoqing murmured in a low voice, holding the obsidian hanging wall that came from the mountain. The cold touch on the surface made her fingers slightly numb. Last night's mountain battle was still in sight. Although the soil wall was a little smaller, it was the first time she had not self-destructed herself in full. Grow? Well, it feels so silky. Xuan turned around and smiled, the beard flashing the gold edge under the sun. Don't scare yourself. The ancient temple is an ancient site, and the devil's men used to hide tokens and traps. But there is a message of artifact fragments that may help you stabilize magic. Remember, don't get into trouble after entering. I visited the scene that year, and I stepped on it wrong, almost turned into a bee. His voice was as steady as a rock, and with a reverberating bitter smile, it made Xiaoqing's heart tread a lot. Yitong hummed and grabbed the wind with her claws. Stable magic? For you, the artifact must also be blessed with good luck. The brave man will wear the wind and tighten the target, and it will become a moving target. Its green eyes are blinking, striking at the cloudy valley ahead. Finally, the ancient wheels appeared, a stone temple half buried in the cliff. The entrance was like the mouth of a giant beast, the vine-burned pillars were engraved with winding runes, and the air was filled with the smell of moist moss and the ignorant moldy rot. The sunlight slanted into the sky, illuminating a shadow inside, and the stones extend downwards. The walls on the wall are broken, depicting the scene of the ancient war, the historical poem of the brave fighting against the darkness, which is stained by the red light of the devil. The team stepped in carefully, stumbled on the stone slab, making empty echoes. Xiaoqing touched the wall, the stone head was slippery like ice, and the runes were slightly hot at the fingertips. This place is so vast, as if it has entered an ancient tomb. The hanging wall points here, the devil's secret must be hidden. She whispered and excited in her heart, explore. This is what the brave should do. Put the head on the head, explore the way with a long stick, and the green stone on the head emits soft light, illuminating a stone door ahead. There are 3 grooves embedded in the door, shaped like crescent moon, sun and stars. The wall next to it is engraved with a lingering saying, the 3 phases of light illuminate the darkness and open the eternal door. He browsed, a classic interpretation. Crescent moon is luminous light, sun is sunlight, and stars are starlight. Light magic is required to be activated, but the dark energy in this room will interfere. Xiaoqing, your light magic test. Remember, the word stable, feel the energy is like a stream, and it is guided slowly. Xiaoqing swallowed, her heart beat like a drum. Light magic. Her brain has a new move, and she has never practiced it. But the team relied on her and she couldn't retreat. Okay, I'll come. Yitong, help me look at the wind. Xuan, prepare for the backhand. She stood still, pressed the groove with both hands, and drew a soft curved hand, and said, the essence of light, the three phases are united, illuminating the way ahead. The light particles condensed in the air, and the platinum lighted up the fingertips, warm as morning light, and poured into the groove slowly. The runes began to move, and the stone door moved slightly, as if it was about to open. It's done. There's no backlash this time. Xiaoqing thought excitedly. But at the moment when the light was about to merge perfectly, the backlash exploded like a malicious drama. The energy reversed, and the light not only did not illuminate stably, but instead exploded into a dazzling flash of light around her. A sound of shock, the platinum fog sprayed like a fire, filling the hall, light particles shine everywhere, reflecting the gold burning of stone walls, like a laser show that greatly stimulated the concert, with the air filled with heat waves and a faint smell of ozone. Xiaoqing's eyes turned white, and her eyes were instantly pitch black. She felt like she was blown up by a flashlight. She screamed, "Ah! Eyes! Why did this light turn into a nuclear power?" Not only her, the team was blind. Xuan rubbed his eyes and slapped his long stick. Don't die, this backlash is too fierce. Xiaoqing, don't move. Yitong grabbed his claws and his hair began to slim down. Your magic is a disaster-prone piece with special effects. The flash and chase are all the demons have to applaud. Its complaints were rumbling in the light and fog, with a helpless smile. Blindly, crisis comes. The stone gate machine was touching, and the stone statues deep in the hall came alive. More than 10 ancient guardian statues are as big as bears. The stones creaked, their eyes lit up red, and their steps shaking the ground, and the dust fell down like a sign of an earthquake. They danced stone axes and rushed towards the light source, growling like rock rubbing, placing the dark whispers of the demon king, invader. Give. The hall was in a mess in an instant, the stone statue's steps were rallied, the wall runes were distorted by the flash of light, and the dark trap was activated, the ground cracked a black fog, trying to swallow everything. Xiaoqing retreated in panic, her vision was blurred, and she could only hear the huge approaching of the stone statue. She instinctively pulled the wind to calm down, but then she stuck the bulge on the wall. An ancient stick was slapped on the red cloth, as if it was sucked by a magnet. She pulled hard, and the whole person was grabbed, and the steel was pulled from the front and back began. She slid forward and hit the legs of a stone statue. The stone chips flew, causing her arm to hurt. She retreated, pulled her wind tightly, and touched the rod to touch and create more connections. The stone statue accelerated to chase after her, and the axe blew over, and the wind pressure made her hair fly. The chasing drama was staged. She was like a living target, blindly slamming the stones, taking a few steps, and being pulled back by the wind, screaming, "Let's go! Is this wind my life or a shrew? Stone monster, give me life!" The stone statue group was getting closer and closer, and the black fog emerged from the cracks, as cold as touching his ankles, and the hall fell into a half-light and half-dark chaotic. Yitong was flexibly in the darkness, and her paws slammed into the junction of a stone statue, biting the weak point, and making a gravel sound. Don't act for too long after chasing. Xuan, think of a way. Xuan rubbed his eyes, and his long rod under the semi-blind state slapped a long stick, and the green light illuminated a corner. He shouted, "Xiaoqing, listen to the sound. The bullet is connected to your wind, pull the rod in the reverse direction. The light magic can resolve the black fog, concentrate, don't panic." Xiaoqing felt irritated and her heart was full of trouble, it was screwed up again. Why do I always drag my back legs? The axe from the stone statue fell down and the ground was shaking. She felt that the team's trust was collapsing. But Xiaoan's words were like a light tower. She gritted her teeth and closed her eyes, took a deep breath, the word, stable. Blindly, she felt the pulling force of the wind and pulled the rod in the opposite direction. The spirit of light, come again. The remaining energy stormed out, and this time it did not fully backfire, but a special effect fusion with the flashing light bulb. The light bulb explodes like a fire, and the blue-white gold intertwined, illuminating the entire hall. The explosion special effect is extremely powerful. The light is like a laser rain falling, piercing through the black fog, reflecting the stone statue's figure twisted and the red eyes are dim. The fog evaporates, and the sound of sizzling sounds. The hall wakes up from the darkness, and the runes regain cache, like a visual feast for resolving crisis. The stone statue froze, and with a creaking sound, it cracked into pieces. The dust spread and the stone door opened slowly. The vision was clear and sunny, sitting on the ground, spreading its wings, and slinging the cloth strips on the slabs. She rubbed her eyes, looked at the stone chips and shining light, and her heart was filled with tide. Backlash was originally a disaster, but it opened unexpectedly and broke the fog. Clumsy, can create miracles. It's not about luck, it's about my learning to guide you. A warm current spreads in the chest, from self-bearing to self-confidence, which is a real breakthrough in the realm. She laughed and said, "Ha, my light magic has turned into a light show in the hall. Brother Shirtu, thank you for chasing and practicing my sacred." Shuan helped her up, patted the dust, and said with praise, "Fuck well. That stick is the key, your wind is unintentionally touching. The team is so loyal, this will be resolved." Yitong jumped on her legs and licked her paws. The end of the disaster film is good, but don't be the heroine next time. The light special effects are full, and the stone statue chasing you is like a comic short film. Behind the stone gate is a small secret room, and a crystal fragment is floating on the central sacrificial fortress, the light of the artifact. It is as transparent as crystal, with golden light inside, and warm as sunlight when touching. Xiaoqing reached out to touch her, and the fragments merged into her body. In an instant, a steady energy penetrated into the veins, like a stream calming the restless river water. The magic gold fingers are no longer so wild, and the backlash risk is reduced by half. She feels the energy in her body like an arm to use her fingers. Wow, this artifact fragment. My magic is stable, and I won't be afraid of self-destructing the party in the future. The team's strength is improved, Swan's long stick absorbs light, and the green stone is brighter. Yitong's hair is golden, and his claws are as sharp as blades. Xiaoqing tried a small fireball, and this time it was perfectly formed, without backlash, only warm heat waves. So much. Thank you, I can't do it without a team. After praying to Xiao Xiao, they divided some vintage gold coins in the secret room, gnawed the dried rice dumplings, and smiled. Suan suddenly bowed and raised a piece of engraved stone slab from the sacrificial slab. Look at this, the Demon King's subordinates, the Shadow Army, have gathered in the Central Plains and are ready to attack Silver Leaf City. The ancient temple is the central station, we cut it off, but the war is coming. The runes on the stone slab were cold, indicating a storm. Xiaoqing clenched her fist tightly, and her heart was filled with strength. Midterm climax. Silver Yi City War. But with magical artifacts and teams, she is not afraid. Let's go. Go to Silver City and give the shadows a bigger fire show to the scene. Yitong shook her tail, as long as it was not taken by itself. When she was at the head, the three of them left the ancient temple. The sun shone with mountains and the black fogs on the far plain were visible, as if they were summoning the next scene of laughter. The wind sways lightly in the wind, and this time I didn't get stuck. The pace was calm and the joy of growth was like a fog. Terms, 1263. Xiaoqing stepped on the tail slope of the mountain, and the sunlight shone under the clouds, illuminating the grass waves in the central plains, like a golden sea surface undulating in the wind. There was a cold fog hidden in the air, and thin dewdrops were condensed on the tip of the grass, and the touch was slippery like a silk. The energy of the artifact fragments was still moving inside her body, making her magic feel much smoother, no longer like she used to be a wild horse. But the black fog far away became increasingly dense, and the silhouette of the silver city marked on the map was visible, covered by a gray shadow, like the devil's hand was quietly stretching. This plain looked so peaceful, a little bit uneven. Xiaoan said in a low voice, his long staff in his hand hitting the ground lightly, and the green stones flashed under the sun, scanning the surrounding breath. His leather armor was still stained with the dust of ancient stones, and the beard was slightly shaking in the wind. His eyes were as alert as a turtle. The Shadow Army's troops are probably nearby, don't be careless. Xiaoqing, your magic is now stable, so leave some energy to the scene. Yitong stretched her head from Xiaoqing's shoulder, her tail was swayed like a whip, and her green eyes narrowed into tines. Big scene. To her, each scene is a self-directed and self-acted disaster show. The brave, remember the blessing of the magical artifact, don't turn the plane into a paradise. Its claws gently grabbed the edge of the wind, and the red cloth swayed in the wind, and the broken cloth scattered like a small flag. Xiaoqing smiled and touched the blue light talisman and artifact fragments in the inner bag, feeling as warm as the sun. Don't worry, I'm now an upgraded version of the brave. Didn't the last Gudian light show succeed? Team cooperation, no enemy. She walked lightly, and the grass waves wiped her calves, making rustling rubbing sounds. He is very nervous inside. The Shadow Army is the Demon King's #1 army. The monster army under his command is strong and he will be backfire. No, you can't think of being negative. Start with growth and become the leader. In the middle of the plain, a low roar suddenly exploded. The black fog flowed like a tide, and a monster army was drawn from the grass in front of the grass, dozens of movie wolf beasts, their hair twisted like black smoke, their eyes were red like blood moon, and their claws were slashing with sharp scratches. Beside them were iron-armored soldiers, their armored shells were flashing with cold metal light, their tails were swung like whips, and venom dripped on the grass and sizzled as if they were touching the grass. The head was a few elite soldiers of the Shadow Warriors, who were tall as bears, with black fog on their bodies, holding a bent shadow blade in their hands, and their roars shook the ground slightly. Invader! Shadow will tear everything apart from the command of the army. The leader of the warrior roared, and his voice was like the thunderbolt in front of the storm. The monster army came up, stepping on the grass waves and stinking waves, and the smelly fog came over his nose, making Xiaoqing's stomach swell. Come! Scatter! Xiaoan shouted, and his long rod was swept, and the green light turned into a vine to control the front row of Shadow Wolf. The sword light flashed and caught the tail of a soldier, sparking 4 times. Yitong slapped her shoulders, her claws swung towards a single wolf beast, biting its ears and ripping it into blood, and her tail slammed out a sound and fell to the other. Hurry, brave! Your ice magic, this fog is so hot, come and have a cold show. Xiaoqing's heart beats like a drum, and the monster's red eyes flashed in the fog, like countless torches approaching. She took a deep breath, and the ice bulbs appeared in the sea of her brain, a magical artifact to make the energy listen more. She planned a flowing wave hand and stretched forward with both hands, the spirit of ice, listen to me and call the enemy. The air instantly dropped, the cold air condensed from her fingertips, and the blue and white ice fogs rotated, and the surface was flashing in silver frost, like the crystals of the lake in winter. The front of the monster army was blocked by stomping, and Shadow Wolf's claws were frozen, causing crispness. Still stable. This time I will definitely do it. Xiaoqing wanted to push it out with great force. But the backlash is still like a shadow. Although it is not as fierce as the ancient temple, it turns into a funny ice party. Not only was the ice fog not precisely, it exploded into an ice skating field around her, the sound of a roar was rising, and the ground was instantly covered with thick ice layers, slippery as a mirror, with blue ice flowers placed around her, and the 4 fogs were as bright as fire, reflecting the black fog turning into a crystal blue-white world. The air was filled with the biting chill and the sound of broken ice. Most of the monster soldiers were scattered, the shadow wolf staggered into an ice sculpture, the armor of the soldiers cracked and the frost flowers, and the howling turned into a ruthless sound. But Xiaoqing herself suffered, the ice field was too slippery, and she slipped down, and she fell forward, rolled up ahead, hit a half-baked shadow wolf, and the ice chips flew. Wow! Why don't you hear this ice? Xiaoqing screamed, and the falling of the ring began. She got up and wanted to calm down, but she slipped again, slid 3 meters on the ground, knocking over the ice legs of the 2 soldiers. She lifted up again, slipping the bottom of her feet, turning around like a novice ice skater, and burying her head. The wind became the climax promoter. Afterwards, a raised ice block was stuck, and the red cloth was hard, like a clenched tightly. She pulled hard, and the whole person was pulled back, creating a ice ballet. She slipped forward and swung backward, spinning like a ballet dancer, pulling off with a wind. She flipped in the air, kicked her feet away from ice chips, and hit the crumbling sage. The ice flowers were filled with blue smoke and rain, so bright that the black fogs far away were flashing light. The monster army was stunned and slipped to the ground with a few slaughter. Gugu became a group. The leader of the military commander glared with red eyes. What kind of ghost trick is this? Yitong was moving flexibly on the ice, her claws gripped the ground without slipping, and she fell down a slide shadow wolf and pressed its neck with one claw. Are you a brave or an ice skating queen? The devil's ballet dance has to be a little bit. Stop and don't turn us into popsicles. Its complaints were sharp, and it flipped its tail, knocking down 2 soldiers, causing them to hit the ice wall and shattering, and there was a cramped smile in its green eyes. Xiaoqing's heart was broken and funny. This is coming again. But the stability of the artifact made her not completely troubled. She shouted in the rotation, Xuan. Join us. Your green light plus my ice, attack simultaneously. This was a turn. She caught the opportunity from panic, no longer single-handed, and as the leader, lead the team. Xuan understood, and his long rod was tall, and the green light spread to Xiaoqing's hand like a vine. Okay. Energy synchronizes, stay calm. His voice was fixed, and the green stone squirted into her ice fog. Xiaoqing felt the energy merged like a river, the artifact fragments buzzed, and the heart was shocked. This feeling, perfect. She closed her eyes and guided. Ice vines join forces and sway the enemy. The joint magic exploded, and it turned into a multi-layered sprout. The ice fog and green light merged into blue-green ice vines, which burst out like a living snake, storing the dead monsters. The special effects of the ice flower 4 floods are fierce, and the blue and green fog sprays the plains, like the winter smoke show, illuminating the black fog retreats. The monster army is completely destroyed. The shadow blade of the leader of the military clan breaks and falls to the ground. The unexpected climax, the ice field spreads and spreads to the far corner of the black fog, a hidden shadow that will lead the army to the fortress. The ice layer was covered with tides, the tent was filled with ice sculptures, and the howling of the monsters in it turned into a slight storm, revealing a bunch of demon tokens and flashing light. The monster army failed. Xiaoqing finally stopped ballet and relaxed. She slid on the ice, panting and laughing. Ha! Ballet on ice specializes in monsters. Xuan, thank you for synchronization. This trick is so praiseworthy. The inner soul changed like ice melt. From a clumsy smile to a reliable leader, she learned to trust her partners and guide her strength. It was not just one person to carry it, but the bridge of the team. This growth made her feel hot and blood boil in her chest. Xuan put away his pole, patted her on the shoulder, his eyes filled with praise. You have changed, it's sunny. Just then, it's the style of the leader. The magical artifacts join the team, there is no enemy. Yitong jumped onto the ice block and licked her paws. Your Majesty Queen, is the ballet over? I will teach me to turn around next time. The 3 of them smiled and raised a half bag of the prisoners of the soldiers. The soldiers were under the shadow army, with their armor cracked and their red eyes were dim. The captive was swept by the green vines and glared at them with panting. You win. But the demon king is invincible. His weakness, The weakness is the core of the heart, the dark sacrificial deep in the Demon King city. That is the remains of the ancient seal, only the pure light magic can break. The shadow army will come to take revenge, you are dead. Its voice trembled, revealing the key, and there was a fear in its eyes. Xiaoqing's eyes lit up and she tightened her fists. Core. Thank you, brother. This is worth the money. Demon King, we are here. The team members were in high spirits, and Xuan pointed, Silver Yi City first stayed steady, then headed straight to Demon King City. Xiaoqing, you are the leader. Yitong's tail rose, take the way, ice skating queen. Don't forget to add music to the next scene. The ice field melted, the plain sun became brighter, and the black fog disappeared, revealing a smooth road to Silver Leaf City. But far away, the shadows of the convoys were roaring like a storm warning. Xiaoqing was light and his steps were fixed. The team went forward shoulder to shoulder, smiling and determined. The door of Demon King City seems to be closer. Terms, 1245. Xiaoqing wiped the sweat beads from the top, and the sunlight on the plain gradually turned fiercely, and the grass waves twisted slightly in the hot waves, like a melting painting. After the black fog disappeared, the team accelerated the road, and the silhouette of Silver Leaf City was finally clear. The high-pitched stone walls, the flags on the tower floors were flying, the noise that came to the market and the iron craftsman's remarks. The air was filled with the smell of barbecue and spices, making her stomach growl. But Xiaoan's words were like a shadow cap, the shadow army will not be good at silence, and the city of silver is a central city. We have to tightly support it, cross the eastern desert, and head straight to the Demon King City. The core information is so important. At the entrance of the city gate, guards called for the smoking brave men, and the news in the village has been published. Xiaoqing was scrambled into the guild and was upgraded, a pair of non-slip boots and a bottle of stable medicine. The touch was slippery as mint, and a desert map marked the green and sandy nests. Xuan said in a low voice, the desert is the edge of the Demon King's power. The sandworm is strengthened by the dark energy and specializes in devouring the traveler. Soon, your fire magic has advantages in the sand, but the environment will amplify and backfire. Remember, it is suitable for the terrain, don't come hard. Yitong jumped on her new boots, stomped on her claws, and snorted, odds. Last time ice show you became an ice skating queen, this time ice show won't turn into a roasted desert. Brave, cut short with a short wind, and the desert is big, so Kasha Dunes will be depressed. Xiaoqing smiled and poked it on the nose, stop talking, I have a magical artifact now, as stable as an old dog. Let's go, desert adventure, come. Leaving Silver Leaf City, the territory has changed. The plain is covered with yellow sand, and the sun is roasted so that the sand is as flashing as gold powder, and the heat waves are swollen. The air is as dry as if it has absorbed moisture. The team wrapped in a cloak, stepped on the sand dunes and made a squeak. The wind blew over, rolled up the fine sand and hit the face, thorning. Xiaoqing drank a sip of water, and the water slid over her throat, causing her mouth and tongue to dry. The desert is as hot as steaming, and the sand is still diamond in the shoes. Brother Swan, how far is the green island? The head of the head, the long stick explores the way, and the green stones are swept to express their intentions. It's half a day away, but the sand is not very frequent. Listen to the sound, keep in line, in front of me, it's sunny, and be alert after Yitong. His voice was fixed in the wind, and the beard was covered with fine sand, which looked like a desert traveler. It was sunny and a little scared in my heart, the desert is gone, and I am lost. But she clenched her fists and thought to myself, I already have a lot of suitable responses from the plains to the ice show here. Be brave and be the leader. After noon, a deep buzz suddenly appeared in the sand dunes. The ground was shaking, and the sand waves were swept like waves, and 3 giant sand flies in front broke through the sand and came out. These monsters are several meters long, with skin covering like yellow sand, and their mouths open to form black holes. The sharp teeth in them rotate like diamonds, making a harsh scrub sound. The eyes are hidden in the sand, only the red light is revealed, the tail swings up the sand column, and the fishy and hot air comes to the nose, like a rotten fishy smell mixed with sand. Invaders. Swallow. The gang of sucked, and the sucklings rolled out again, surrounding them. The sand grains were flying like rain, making Xiaoqing's arm hurt. Sand. Scatter. Xiaoan shouted, his long staff was swept, and the green vines sank a tail, and the sword light slashed towards his mouth, and the sparks were filled with 4 gusts. Yitong rolled up the sand dunes, her claws swung toward the eyes, grabbed black blood, and her tail slammed the sand to confuse the eyes. Hurry, brave. Fire magic, burn them. The desert is afraid of fire, don't let them dig. Xiaoqing's heart beat faster, and the buzzing horns made his eardrums buzzing, and he was afraid that he would rush up like sand. This monster is too big, what should I do if I swallow it? But the team's shouting pulled her back, she sucked the hot air deeply, and fire magic floated in the sea of brain, a magic weapon that allowed the energy to be warm. She planned a flame hand and pushed forward with both hands, the spirit of flame, burn the enemy. The air was twisted, the red light condensed, and a group of fireballs formed at the fingertips, with blue flames jumping on the surface, and the heat waves smeared with scorched earth smell, resting on the smell of development. Boil. Xiaoqing pushed it out with force, and the fireball shot towards the snail group. But the backlash rolled like the heat of the desert, and the energy reversed. Not only did the fireball not burn accurately, it exploded around her and turned into a wild sand storm. The turbulent waves are merging with flames and sand. The red and yellow sandstorm rises like a dragon, reaching a height of 10 meters. The special effect of sparks is like a fire show in the desert. The orange-red flame licks the sand grains, turning into a golden fog to spray the sky, reflecting the golden storm of sand dunes, and the human flavor and heat waves of burnt sand in the air. The sand squid was swept in, and the matte sound of the mouthparts turned into a roar. The flames burned their sand squid, bursting, and the squids were twitching, but they were buried by the sand waves. The red eyes squinted in the sand. But Xiaoqing fell into it himself. In the center of the sandstorm, she was surrounded by yellow sand, like a wall entering a quicksand trap, and the sand was poured into her mouth and nose, and she was so anxious that she coughed and had a golden and yellow slumber. Ahem. Why is this sandstorm storm swaying to me? Stop. She sucked like ice water, and she crawled out, sinking deeper and deeper, and the sand stuck to her skin, like countless small hands pulling it. Although most of the sandworms were buried, the tail of the sandworms was thrown to smash more sand waves. She screamed and retreated. Crisis has been added, and the wind has become a savior. No, it's the boss. Later, it stuck a cactus on the road, and the red cloth slammed the hard penis, as if it was bitten by an iron. The sandstorm pulled down, and she was grabbed by the whole person, and the slid forward and backward began. When the sand waves rolled up, she slid like a sand boat, hitting the half-buried skeleton, sparking 4 times. When she pulled back, she pulled the cactus in her wind, and the sound of the piercings broke and burst, causing the chains to break. The cactus root system was loose, and the surrounding sand dunes rolled like an avalanche. The yellow sand was buried without stolen. At the same time, she threw Xiaoqing to a high place and fell into the sand pit. As the rings rolled, she was dazzled, and she was tearing her hair down without any sound. The cactus thorns over her arms, making her feel hot and painful. Ah! Panfeng, are you a desert tour guide? A specialty card is a popular attraction. Xiaoqing's heart collapsed, sand entered her eyes, and the world was blurred. I'm afraid to reach the top. Are you going to bury the sand this time? How can I adapt to this ghost place if I am clumsy? But in the moment, she gritted her teeth and grabbed a corner of the wind, and shouted in a swing, Xuan. Itong. In the sandstorm, the cactus. Team, pull me out. This was a turn, from pure fear to taking the initiative to ask for help. She realized that the strange world is not something that is carried by one person. Courage is not fearless, but adapting to crisis and relying on her partners. Yitong swayed around the sandstorm, her hair was blown by the wind, and her green eyes narrowed into a tiny, "Is your wing a desert tour? A hot spot for a special door? Hold on, I'll bite it." It grabbed the ground with its claws, swung its tail off the sand waves, and slapped at the cactus, biting the wing cloth in one bite, pulling it so hard that it was flying, with a sharp voice, "Bit it off. Xuan, dig it quickly." The long staff of Shu En's green light was bright, the vines were whipped open the sand layer like whips, and the blade dug the ground like a mirror. He shouted, "The environment is suitable for war, it's sunny. The desert sandstorm relies on the wind, turns around and sways, and uses the wind to spread the sand, like this." He showed his sight, wrapped his cloak, opened the road, digging out a passage, the green light dissolved the heat waves, and touched his hands happily. Xiaoqing heard it and her heart lit up, "It's suitable." She turned her back to the wind, spread the wind and opened the cactus, and used the swarm to roll out the sand pit. The special effect of the dune rolling reached its climax, the yellow sand sprayed like a fire, and the red light and fog mixed with the sand dust, resolving the wind, and the nest was buried in the bottom, leaving only the buzzing sound and the charred sand pit. The sandstorm stopped, and Xiaoqing was pulled out by Allah, sitting on the dry sand, covered in sand like flour, and coughed and spit out yellow sand. "Ha! I've come alive. Thank you. This sandstorm and fire show, burning the skulls and burying the nest, innovation and success." She laughed, her heart turning like a clear wind in the desert, the fear just now was gone, replaced by a flame of courage. From an urban girl to an adventurer in the world, she learned to understand the environment and use the power to fight. Clumsy wind? No, it is my lucky charm. Growing up, she patted Xuan on the shoulder, "Brother, your war is so practical. I will be the first next time, it is suitable for the desert." Xuan rubbed the sand, his eyes warmed, "No, you caught a chance from panic. The environment is both enemy and friend, and the Demon King city is even more evil. Remember this." Yitong shook her hair, threw out the sand grains, and jumped on her legs. "The guide and the wind have been upgraded to a dune-turning expert." "Ha, but you are a little brave, no longer a pure fool." The team moved forward, and the greenery was hidden behind the dunes, a pool of coconut trees, the sun shone on the blue waves, the waves were sparkling, and the clear moisture and fruity fragrance were radiant in the air. Xiaoqing swept over to wash his face, and the water dripped like nectar, blowing away the sand. She found a trace under the coconut tree, a stone tablet with lettering, "Rune Flash, the allies of light, the elf king of Alone, hidden in the depths of the Greenland, waiting for the brave to gather. Knock the shadows and defeat the core of the heart." Several leaf-shaped talismans were scattered beside them, and their hands were soft like silk. After injecting energy, they summoned a phantom, a silver-haired spirit, and smiled, "Brave, I feel your light magic. Come to the heart of Greenland, I will join and bring the power of the forest." Xiaoqing's eyes lit up, "Ally. Spirit King. The team has expanded." Xiao Anta said, "The plot is pushed forward, the devil's power is gathering, and we have to pull people too. Aaron can break the black fog, perfect." Yitong sniffed the talisman, "Energy. Hearing high level, but don't let him complain about your wind." The three of them smiled and went deep into the Greenland, with shadows swaying, water gurgling, and the wind of the desert in the distance. The shadows of the army were roaring, as if chasing. But Xiaoqing's pace was light and brave as a new life, and the shadow of the Demon King city seemed to be no longer so terrifying. Terms, 1256. The vines deep in the greenery were sunny, and the mist at the pool scattered like thin scoops. The sun shone through the spots under the coconut leaves, reflecting the shimmering water surface. The air is filled with the moist smell of moss and the sweet fragrance of wild flowers, which makes the heat of the desert temporarily fade away. She held the leaf-shaped protective talisman, and the touch was soft and soft. After injecting the energy from the artifact fragments in her body, the protective talisman became slightly burned. "Elephant King Alone, come on. We're here," she whispered, her voice rumbling in the sound of water. as if calling an old friend. The ripples in the middle of the pool spread out, and a silver light rose, and the phantom condensed into a silver hair spirit. It has a long figure, pointed ears, clear eyes like a lake, and covered with colorful leaves, emitting a faint fragrance of the forest. The brave man Xiaoqing, I feel that your light and magic are pure and imperfect. The darkness of the devil has penetrated into the desert. I, Alan, want to join, bringing the violent power of the essence forest. Alan smiled, his voice was as light as a rage. He stretched out his hand, and a green leaf seal floated into Alan's palm, blending into Alan's talisman. The team felt the energy gushing in an instant. Swan's long staff was even greener, Itong's claws flashed with vines, and Xiaoqing's magical gold fingers buzzed, as if there was a sense of added slight help. Wow, spirit allies! We are the all-star team now. Xiaoqing held Alone's hand excitedly, feeling as refreshing as morning dew. Inner excitement, from urban girls to ladies, this growth speed can fly straight up. But she patted her wind and reminded herself, don't be too proud, the desert is still waiting for us to break into the Demon King's outpost. Aaron, where is the love? Aaron was pointed, and his hair was lightly in the wind. The shadowy army's outpost is located in the northeast of the Greenland, a hidden camp behind the dunes. There are dark soldiers and summoners, guarding the complementary line to the demon city. Destroying it can block the demon's back. His eyes flashed, and the leaves rustled, like a forest in a low voice. Xuan put away the map, and the handle of the sword gently knocked his palm. Good plan. I rushed forward, Xiaoqing magic support, Itong and Aran's side wings. Be quick, don't let them send a signal. Itong swung his tail and jumped on Xiaoqing's shoulder, side wing. It means I'm a pity. Okay, but brave, have your summoning magic practice done? Last time I showed you to be the ballet queen, don't summoning sandstorm buried me this time. The teams were smiling and they were rising, and the green waters were falling from the sky, and the heat waves in the desert were swaying again. The sand dunes undulate like golden waves, and the wind rolls up and the fine sand hits the cloak, causing a light blow. I walked on my new anti-slip boots with a steady pace and my heart was filled with confidence. With Alan, the artifact was stable again. This time I came to lead the war. The outpost is hidden among 3 high sand dunes, disguised into natural terrain, but the black fog rolls out from the gaps in the tent, and the pungent smell of sulfur is oozing in the air. The camping area is not big, with more than a dozen dark soldiers patrols, holding shadow blades in their hands, and red eyes flashing. The central flag is flying, placing the devil's black thorns, and there are several chains beneath the ground, like twisted sand, and the claws scrape the ground and make a mat sound. The leader soldier growled, increase the alert, the shadow will command the army, keep it and give it to you, and no invaders will be killed. Go! Shaoan yelled softly, his long staff flashed green light, and the vines whipped towards the edge of the outpost like a whip, slamming the legs of the 2 soldiers, and the sword light followed and cut off the chain. The silver light of Alan swept, the blade flew out, cutting the tent, and the forest storm rolled up the sand to confuse the enemy's line. Itong rushed into the campground, her claws swept towards a sand pit, biting its tail, and tugging it into black blood. Come on, monster. Your tail is not as sharp as my tail. Xiaoqing hid behind the sand dunes, absorbed the heat and air deeply, and his heart beat like a drum. The monster army came, the shadow blade of the soldiers was rushing, and the claws of the sand were chasing the ground. Her brain floated in the cuckoo option, this is a new skill, and the artifact made it here a lot. It's my turn. Listen to my orders, call the fierce beasts to help the battle. She planned the arc of her hands with both hands, and the energy condensed. A golden door opened at her fingertips, spreading the roar of the beasts, and the heat waves filled with wild fishy smell. Come out, giant wolf army. Xiaoqing pushed the door hard. The desert fox that backfired like a skin, was not the giant wolf that was thrown out of the door, but a bunch of funny little animals. The golden light explodes, and the special effects of dancing in the sky are like rainbows. Pink rabbits jump, fat squirrels are roaring, and chickens and ducks are raving, dozens of small things are storming from the door, and the furry figures are rolling on the sand, emitting cute squeaks and rustling feathers. The entire camping site instantly turned into a pet garden. Rabbits chewed soldiers' boots, squirrels climbed onto flags and caught them, and ducks splashed in the sand. Although there was no water, they were happy. What? This is my call. Xiaoqing widened her eyes and her heart sank. Backlash is coming again. But this time it was different. The artifact fragments were buzzing and she felt that the energy was not completely damaged, but like a snail she held. She gritted her teeth and shouted in her heart, "Control it. From clumsy to superiority, this is my peak. Little animals, listen to me. Attack." She waved her hand hard, and the backlash energy turned back to help. The small animal army got up like a tide. The rabbit knocked down the leg of the soldier, the squirrel smashed the eyes, the duck quacked and slapped, accidentally creating a chaotic fire show. Pink fog, hair flying like a colorful belt, illuminating the outpost as bright as a tide. The soldiers retreated in surprise. Monster. What kind of cute nightmare is this? Humorous climax explodes. As soon as he entered the camping ground, he draped in the wind, and suddenly became tight. He stuck the central flag. The red cloth slammed on the black thorns, and the flagpole shook. She pulled it hard, and the entire flag was torn off, like an extended tail with a wind. When she was rushing forward, the flags swept over the face of the soldiers and knocked down the three of them. When she retreated, she slapped the legs of the sand and pulled it over, and the monsters collided into a group. The outpost was in chaos. The small animal soldiers chased the soldiers and bit their tails, the flags were whipped like whips, and the sand flew. Pink fog and black fog intertwined, and the explosion special effect was flying in the sky. The rabbit showed colorful sparks when it jumped, the squirrel's tail flew out a smoke fog, and the duck carried a small whirlpool of sandstorm. The soldiers screamed, "Retreat!" This brave man summoned the demon in the pet garden. The monster scattered and fled into the sand dunes, leaving behind a lot of feathers and fruit shells. Yitong collapsed the last sandy wall, pressed its head with his paws, and turned his head to complain. "Did you call the brave pet garden? The rabbit bites people, and the duck wants to swim. This is not a battle, it is clearly an escape party in the animal garden. Ha, call the dragon next time, so that I can't laugh." Its green eyes blinked, and its tail swept over its sunny legs, full of warmth. Xiaoqing laughed loudly, and her inner self-confidence was overwhelmed. Backlash? No, this is my unique skill. From self-destruction to conversion advantages, I have complete control. She patted the wind, blocked the cloth and hung the flag-crushing film. Thank you, Yitong. This pet army is very practical, and the enemy is not exhausted. Xuan, turn the defense to attack. Aran, block the road by storm. Xuan's eyes were bright, and his long rod was pointed. Okay. Team hearing the order, Xiaoqing's animal army faint, Aran and I went straight to the middle, destroying and refining it. He scattered like a wind, cut off the last chain, green vines rolled onto the tent, Aran's leaves danced, and the forest storm rolled up sand waves to seal the retreat. The little animal soldier accidentally helped, the rabbit diamonds into the tent and bites the rope, the squirrels chew on the torch of the signal, and the ducks quacked and confused the soldiers. The outpost collapsed, and the refill box was smashed, revealing the map and black crystal, a detailed blue picture of Demon King City. The map marks the core position, guarding the layout and weak channel, and the touch is as cold as a shadow. It's done. This map is a treasure. Xiaoqing raised the map, opened it and slapped her hands excitedly. The Demon King City is near before us, our final battle is ready. The inner energy changed like a fire, from smiling and clumsy to confident leader, this growth made her feel invincible. The team surrounded her and Suan patted her shoulder. Xiqing, you are the MVP tonight. That pet garden is extremely innovative. Friendship doubles, let's break our hearts together. His voice was warm and his eyes were as proud as his elder brother. Aran smiled, and the leaves were flashing with light. The brave of light, your suitable strength is as strong as the forest. The forest of spirit will always support you. Yitong jumped onto the map, with her paws lightly at the core position, the owner of the pet garden, the next stop in the Demon King city. Remember, don't summon the mouse, it will bite my tail. Xiaoqing laughed and picked it up and rubbed her hair. Go to you. With you, this friendship is stronger than magic. The sunset of the desert was setting, and the team went forward shoulder to shoulder. The map was slightly hot in the sunny morning, and the black fog growled in a slight roaring in a far corner, as if we were welcoming the final conflict. The wind was light, and several rabbits from the animal army jumped behind them, laughing and rumbling in the sand, and the battle's strength quietly warmed up. Number of words, 1247. Xiaoqing wrapped her cloak, and the heat of the desert was still chasing behind her, and the team had already sneaked under the deserted cliff outside the Demon King city. The night is as bright as ink, the city wall is as loud as the back of a giant beast, the surface is full of twisted black vines, which emits the pungent smell of sulfur, and scatters the low birds of the far lava river. The map opens on the sand, and the moonlight reflects the red spots at the core, and the touch is as cold as a shadow. The wall of this city looks like an iron bucket, and guarding is definitely serious. Aaron, can your storm cover us up and flip through the wall? Xiaoqing asked in a low voice. The sound trembled slightly in the wind, and the deer in her heart bumped into the roar. Finally, she went to Deben to build it, and she exploded from the temple to the desert pet garden. She laughed constantly all the way, but Demon King City. This is the prelude to the real gun battle. Alan's silver hair shook lightly, and the leaves rustled and rustled, like a forest in a low voice. Yes, but dark energy will interfere. The invisible magic opens the way first, and it's clear, your artifact fragments are suitable for this move. Stay calm and guide like a stream. His eyes were as clear as a lake, and he stretched out his palm, and a green wind rolled up the fine sand, testing the breadth of the city wall. Xuan squatted beside him, knocking on the rocks with a sharp look. Behind my palace, the firearm is in place. Yitong, you explore the way. He patted Xiaoqing's shoulder, and the beard was covered with sand, and his voice was as steady as a rock. Remember the team and do not fuck. The dragon in this city is the bond of the Shadow Army, and the weakness is in the red core under the film, but you have to be close to it. Yitong's tail flicked, rising from the sand, and her green eyes flashed in the night. Explore the way. I mean I am cannon fodder. Okay, but brave, your obscene turns into a light tower, otherwise we will all turn into barbecue. Its claws lightly with its sunny boots, blinked, and then slipped into the city wall like a ghost, sniffing the fishy smell of the vines. Xiaoqing took a deep breath of the night wind, and the hidden options appeared in the brain, a magic weapon that made many magical weapons smooth. She planned a gentle curved hand and stretched forward with both hands. The hidden spirit covers the figure and blends into the night. The energy stormed out like a wind, and the fingertips condensed transparent fog, and the surface was slightly rippled, like the hidden fish under the water. The team's figure faded. Xiaoqing felt like she was melting into the air, flying lightly, and she was happy in her heart. It's done. This time we are stable, we can sneak in dash. It can be backfired like a malicious ghost in the night, quietly rising without a sound. The fog was not perfectly shaped, but instead exploded around her into a flashing light show, a buzzing sound, the blue and purple light sprayed like a fire, and the team was not hiding, but instead turned into a moving light. The neon frames of Xiaoqing's wind lit up, like nightclub signs. Swan's slim sheaths were flashing green, and Aaron's leaves were as colorful as Christmas trees. Yitong's hair was rising, and his tail was swept like a laser pen. The entire outer area is as bright as a concert venue, and the lights are arcing in the night sky, reflecting the twisted shadows of vines in the city wall, and the air is filled with the buzzing smell and heat waves of current, which is as beautiful as the free light party of the Demon King city. Ah! Why did this invisible shape turn into a light show? Xiaoqing screamed, retreating in panic, and stepped on the sand and stones. The alarm on the city wall exploded instantly, the vines squirmed like a living snake, the sound of the low horns rose, the rumbling stone door opened, and the guardian dragon roared out. The monsters were as big as a hill, and their wings were as bright as iron. Their wings were flapping and rolling up their hot winds. The red eyes were as hot as lava, and the mouthparts were sprayed with black flames. The smell of fishy sulfur came to their noses. Invaders. Light clowns, burned into ashes. The three dragons swung down, and their claws made a harsh sound of metal friction, and their tails swayed and smashed the sand column, and the night sky was reddish by black flames. Yitong's hair was straight, and her claws grabbed Xiaoqing's wind. Your magic is the invitation letter to the lighting party of Demon City? Now the whole city knows that we are coming to hang out. Run, stupid brave. Its complaints were sharp, green eyes were round, and she flexibly swayed on Xiaoqing's shoulders, and her tail was swinging out the visual line that confuses the dragon's head. The crisis broke out, and Xiaoqing stumbled back in the light, and suddenly became tight after being breezed the black vines stuck in the city wall. The red cloth slams on the vines tightly, as if they were hooked by iron nets. She pulled hard, and the whole person was pulled, and the steel was pulled forward and backward began. She flicked forward, and the special effects of the light show were brighter. The blue and purple light was like a fire, illuminating the red core weakness of the dragon's zombie. She pulled back, and the vines touched the alarm, and more corners on the city wall were raised, and the vines sucked like whips, tingling the arm, and it was hot and spicy. Link warnings are like domino. The first dragon came, and the wings flapping her swayed and made her breathless. The second tail swept over, and the sand and stones hit Aaron's leaves, making them crisp. The third one was black flames, the hot waves burned and covered the wind, and the burnt smell sucked the nose. Let's go. This wind-covered door is looking for trouble. Xiaoqing's heart collapsed, panic swelling like black flames. Are you here again? From the temple to here, do I always drag my back legs? But in the moment, she gritted her teeth and grabbed the vines, and the sea of brain flashed through the journey, the self-destruction of the temple, the air show of the forest, the flood park of the swamp, the thunder and spear in the village, the earth walls of the tug-of-war, the light chase of ancient temples, the ice ballet on the plains, the sandstorm rolling in the desert, the pet garden of the outposts. Every backlash is a smile, which also makes her from an urban girl to the leader of this strange world. Clumsy. No, that's my weapon. The team's laughter, Xuan's coach, Yitong's complaints, Aaron's clear style, they made me stronger. I am a hero, not a joke. A stream of heat and blood stormed, she shouted, Team. Restoration. My light exposed its weakness, red core. Xuan, cover up the outbreak. Xuan's eyes lit up, and his long rod was green, like a vine whip slashing the claws of the dragon's beast. The sword light thrust straight into the red core at the first head. Xiaoqing, well fucked. Aaron, wind seals the wings. Yitong, tail. His body was like a wind, and the beard flashed in the light. The green vines blew the dragon's wings, making a crunching sound. The burnt smell of the hot wind squirted from the black flames made him cough and calmly suppress the attack. The silver light of Alan swept, and the leaves danced into green storm, rolling up the red eyes of the sand that confuses the second dragon. Brave of light, your electricity is like a new life in the forest. Storm, tear. The wind cried out, and the sand pierced into the flake like a bell. The dragon wailed, its wings were sealed, and its tail was thrown to smash more sand columns. Yitong slammed down from Xiaoqing's shoulder, her claws swung towards the third tail, biting the weak link. The complaints are over, go. Your light party is now a fire attack show. Its green eyes flashed, its tail swung out of the vine marks, and its dragon legs fell, making it empty, and the claw marks drew sparks on the flakes. Xiaoqing pulled the wind with a pull, and the vines broke and sounded. She threw herself into the air. The special effects of the light show reached its climax, the blue and purple light spots exploded like smoke, and the energy reversed into a sword that transformed the crisis. The light and fog collided with black flames and turned into shattering explosions, the fire rains of red and blue gold collided fell into the night sky, and the sound of the city walls shook, reflecting the red core of the dragon's beasts exposed, like three spark red stones. The explosion effect is extremely powerful, the hot waves are buzzing with buzzing current, the vine alarm is broken by light, and the sound of the horn stops abruptly, the dragon's flakes fall in the smoke, the red core veins accelerate, and the weakness is wide open. Xiaoqing rolled in the air, swaying, and she shouted as she landed, "Now! Poke the core!" The team worked together to break out. The Xuanjia blade pierced the first red core, green light injected like acid, dragon roared and fell to the ground, and the pieces shattered like rain. Aaron stormed up the third head, the leaf blade cut into the core, and the black flames turned into ashes. Xiaoqing summoned a small fireball to help, burning the exposed core of the second head. The artifact stabilized the energy, without backlash, only warm waves. She slammed up, and her fist was covered with light and fog and smashed. "Go to you. This is our party." The red nuclear burst, the dragon turned into a black fog and dissipated, the night sky returned to its tranquility, leaving only the smell of smoke and scorched earth. The guards were in trouble and the outside world was in chaos, and the team took advantage of the opportunity to dive into the side. Xiaoqing panted and leaned against the wall, and her heart was filled with smoke. Looking back, from awkward self-destruction to the turn of lights tonight, I am no longer that clumsy girl. Growth is not about becoming perfect, but about learning to smile against backlash, rely on partners, and turn crisis into miracles. I am a real hero, for this world and for us. She said softly, "Thank you. I can't do it without you." Xuan helped her up and smiled, "Hero? We're together. Look, there, fragments of the power stick." In the skeleton of the dragon's nest, a black crystal power stick shone with a flash of light, with a surface full of Demon King runes, and his touch was as cold as a snake's letter. As soon as it was sunny, the fragments were scattered, as if it was felt to the core, the red points on the map accelerated. Yitong licked the black and gray on her paws, the fragments were obtained, but the police reported half of the city, and the shadows were expected to come. "Brave, your hero's phone has become good, but you still have to cut it when you are exposed." Alan pointed, "The heart of darkness is deep, and our alliance will be broken." Xiaoqing held the fragments tightly, and her blood was boiling. "Let's go. The core of the heart, waiting for our final fire." The city roared and hid, the climax of the plot was approaching like a tide, the figure of the team merged into the shadow, and the heart was filled with a smile, and the deep and pure demon city opened its mouth. Terms, 1249. Xiaoqing held the fragments of the black crystal stick, and the cold touch climbed up her fingertips like a snake letter, causing her to hit the cold. The inner passage of Demon King City is narrow, and the walls are full of dynamic black vines, which produce a low buzz, like a living creature breathing. The air is damp and sticky, scattered with the scent of lava and the hind bloody breath. Stepping on the stone slabs makes a hollow echo, and every step is like stepping on the heartbeat. The team moved forward in a low position, Alone's green wind gently covered the breath, Swan's long staff shone faintly on the road, Yitong's tail swayed like a ghost in the darkness. "This place is like a steamed pot, and the core must be deep in the throne hall," Xiaoqing said softly, and the wind was still shredding with scorch marks from the outer dragon war. The red cloth rubbed gently in the wind, making a rustling sound. She encouraged herself with a small voice in her heart, "From the awkwardness of the light show, I am no longer the novice of self-destruction. Clumsy. That's my style, the team will add it." Xuan was exploring the way forward, and the sword sheath tapped the corner of the wall and turned around and said, "I heard that there was a low roar in front of me." The shadow led the troops to patrol, traversed them, and headed straight to the hall. "Xiaoqing, the fragments of your power stick can feel the core, follow the feeling." His voice was as steady as an accompaniment, and the beard cast a short shadow in the green light, which made Xiaoqing feel relieved. Alan's silver hair shook lightly, and the leaves rustled like a humble rustle. "The darkness is heavy, but our alliance is like morning light. Be careful, the shadow can cut the soul of the army." Yitong's claws lightly on the ground, and her green eyes narrowed into a squint. "Soul? For me, it's just a few more claws to grab. The brave, don't sell us another light show." As the passage was as close as possible, a huge door appeared, and the black thorn figure carved on the door was ignited with red light. Xiaoqing pressed the fragments of the stick, the door buzzed and opened, and the throne hall was exposed in front of her. The sky was like a competition venue, the high arched black crystal hanging light was hung on the top, the light was as bright as ghost fire, the central throne was carved from obsidian, and behind it was the core sacrifice, a moving red and black crystal with a black fog on the surface, making a deep whirl of rushing sound, like the heart beating. The shadows were surrounded by the surroundings, the eyes were red and the shadow blade was roaring low. On the throne, there was a shadow army, as tall as Iron Tower, and its armor was as dark as the night. Its face was hidden under the hood, with only a pair of red blood eyes exposed, and its sound was like thunder and thunder, invaders. Your lights have already shocked the whole city. The brave men in the temple call. Are you coming to die? He stood up. The shadow blade was unsheathed, and the blade was twisted like a living snake, and the air was filled with cold air. He stepped on the ground and made a metal knock, and the hot waves slid into the face, making Xiaoqing take a step back half a step. Shadow Army. The Demon King's ambitions end here. Xiaoqing shouted with her chest out, her heart beating like a drum. The team scattered. The light of the Anlin clan slammed the side wing shadow, the Alan Green storm rolled up the sand confusing line, Yitong rushed towards the throne's foot, and claws grabbed the soldier's boots. The shadow army laughed, and the shadow blade blew, and the black fog rushed like a tide, forcing Aaron's storm to retreat. Little man. Dark devour everything. Xiaoqing gritted her teeth, and all magic options appeared in the sea of brains, artifact fragments buzzed and moved, and the fragments of power sticks shared with them. She decided to gather everything, fire, ice, wind, light, earth, and summons. Every move I learned from the journey has turned into a smile, but it also brought miracles. This time, for the team and the world, she wants to try it out. Come on. All the magic is gathered. She held her hands high, plotting a complicated rotation hand, and said, the spirit of elements, listen to my order, merge the storm, breaking the darkness. Energy storms like a flood, and condenses colorful vortexes at the fingertips, red fire, blue ice, green wind, and white light gold. The surface is flashing and colorful light fog, the heat waves and cold wind pressure intersects, the air twists and buzzes, like the restlessness before the storm. Xiaoqing, stay calm. Xiaoan shouted, and the sword blade slammed a shadow blade and sparked 4 times. Aaron Yi blade dances, your power is like the wrath of the forest, hold on. Yitong swept the air, and his claws wiped his armor, hurry, brave. Don't let it change the animal garden to continue collection. The shadow narrowed his red eyes, and the shadow blade raised his head, silly. Your magic is just a skeleton. He rushed in, and the black fog whipped towards Xiaoqing like a whip. Xiaoqing pushed out the hand and fused magic and burst out, but the backlash was like an extremely evil drama, and the energy reversed into a chaotic storm. The storm of the shaking hall, colorful whirlpools exploded around her to form an ending firestorm, the fireball, ice arrow, earth wall, light fog summoned 4 pieces of the beast fragments, turning into colorful dragon rolls, reaching 10 meters high, and the edge of the explosion special effect, the storm of the red, blue, green, white, and black woven, and the storm was violently sprayed, reflecting the throne hall like a storm. The mixed smell of scorched earth and frost in the air, the heat and coldness alternated, making the shadows tilt and howling turned into shock. At the center of the storm, Xiaoqing was rolled up, and the sky turned dizzy, summoning fragments to turn into little rabbits and squirrels, ice arrows were slammed through the air and slightly, and fireballs exploded into Venus rain. She screamed, ah! Why did this fusion become more and more chaotic? Stop! The panic surged, but her heart flickered, wait, this chaos, is my power. From the first explosion of the temple to the smile of every scene, the backlash never really defeated me, it always brought unexpected success. Clumsiness is not a weakness, it is my unique weapon, turning crisis is the source of miracles. I accept it in full. A warm current blew over, and the artifact fragments lit up. She laughed in the storm. Come on, backfire the storm, listen to me and point me. Team, come on. Multi-level orgasm burst. Level 1, the storm swept over the shadows, ice and fire swelled and burned them, the black fog evaporated into colorful fogs, the soldiers slipped into piles, and the shadow blade flew out like a meteor. Level 2, calling a small animal army into the army's foot, rabbits chew on their boots, squirrels smashing their hoods, ducks rattle and confusing their red eyes. The Shadow Gang army roared, and the shadow blade was shattered, but was trapped by the fragments of the earth wall, and retreated. What kind of crazy trick is this? Xiaoqing rolled in the air, and suddenly became tight after wearing wind, stuck the thorn handrail of the throne. The red cloth was covered with obsidian, like a iron bar. She pulled hard, and the whole person was pulled down, the storm was pulled down, the throne shook, and the thorns broke and sounded. The comedy of the crisis, it swung forward and hit the leg of the army, and the wind stormed over his hood, revealing a twisted face, pulling back, the throne tilted, slid down the army's foot, and fell into the snatch of the duckling. The shadow blade flew out, hitting his black fog, and sizzling. He threw the army on the street and glared red eyes. Flame? You are such a dead cloth. Yitong shook out from the wind, and his claws slammed the arm of the army, bit the gap in the armor, and turned his head and shouted, even the devil's subordinates have defeated you. Brave, this cloth is your secret weapon, specializing in the big boss. Its complaints were like thunder, green eyes were flashing and smiling, and its tail was thrown out of vines to tighten the army's legs, making him pricked like a dumpling that was being slapped. Xiaoqing's inner change is complete. Clumsy is strength? Yes, from now on, I will hold it. This is my heroic path. She landed on the ground and shouted, Xuan. The team's ultimate move, the elemental joint sword. Xiaowan's eyes lit up, and the green light of the long staff poured into Xiaoqing's storm. Come on. Shadow Sword's fusion elements. His blade was high, green vines scattered Xiaoqing's fog, and the blessing of the Allen green wind, the blade turned into a wind blade to help. The team's energy gathered, and a sword stabbed out. The green elemental sword was like a rainbow dragon, and it stabbed into the military's breastplate. The explosion effect reached the peak, the colorful smoke and black fog collided. The ultimate smoke show of red and black gold blue wool exploded into the hall. The hot waves shocked the arched gravel fell, reflecting the core sacrificial veins accelerated, resolving the final obstacle. He wailed the army, the black fog disintegrated, the armor shattered into ashes, and his last roar, the Demon King, will revenge. The figure turned into black smoke and disappeared, leaving only a flash key, the key of the Demon King's palace, with runes engraved on the surface, and his touching hands were as hot as a heartbeat. The hall was quiet, and the fire fell, and it was sunny, sitting on the ground, hanging on the windy side with thorns. She rubbed her arms and felt satisfied. From the scattered girl in the city to the clumsy heroes, the smiles along the way were all my growth. The team surrounded her, and Swan helped her up. Xiqing, your ultimate move is perfect. The army is defeated, and the core is close to you. Aaron smiled, your power is like light breaking through the darkness. Yitong jumped on her shoulder and licked her claws. The wind-clad hero is the next stop of the devil. Remember, don't stick to his crown. Xiaoqing held the key, felt the energy movement, and pointed to the door of the Demon King's palace deep. Although the black fog was dispersed, it was roaring in a low voice from afar, and was ready to be developed. She stood up and sang lightly, let's go, team. Finally, the fire is in full swing, waiting for us to light up. Her steps were fixed, and she laughed in the hall, and the blood of the battle rose quietly as if it was storm. Terms, 1251. Xiaoqing pushed open the giant door of the Demon King Hall, and the black crystal key melted into ashes in the palm of her palm. The black fog that emerged from the door twisted like a living snake, scattering the burning smell of lava and rotten mold, which made her nose feel tingling. The hall is as broad as a bottomless and deep purplish. The high-pitched stone pillars are filled with red and black vines, with blood-red crystal lights hanging on top. The lights are as bright as ghost fire, reflecting the devil throne in the center, a group of twisted dark vortexes. A white face appears invisibly, his eyes are like burning red stones, and a mocking curve is curled up at the corners of his mouth. The air was as heavy as a penis to press the chest, and the sound of the lava river was rumbling, and the heat waves were rolling, causing the sun to sweat. "Come on, the brave clown." The Demon King's voice was as deep as thunder, deep and sandy as hell, carrying a metallic reply. "Your smoker has amused my soldiers, but here, darkness swallows everything." He stood up, and the black fog around the throne condensed into touches, reaching towards the team. The vines whipped the stone slabs like whips, and they exuded a crisp flickering sound. The Shadows Man party emerged from behind the pillar, with red eyes flashing and shadow blades buzzing. Xiaoqing's heart beats like a drum, clenching his fists, and gently swelling in the hot wind, with thorns hanging around the edges. She took a deep breath of heat and air, and her heart was determined. This was the end. From the first sound of the temple to the backlash of laughter in every scene, I walked over. Clumsiness is not a curse, it is my shield. Demon King, the game is over. "This is not your game venue," she shouted, and the team scattered. The light of Swan Yen clan slammed the touching hands on the side, the green storm rolled up the black fog, Itong shook the pillar's foot, and his claws grabbed the foundation of the vine. The devil laughed, and the black fog touching hands were coming like a tide, and the hot waves filled the cold, which made Xiaoqing's skin have chicken goose bumps. "Stupid. Your magic is just a slap." The toucher slapped on Aaron's blade, and the storm was suppressed. He hummed and retreated. "Still, it's clear." The light broke through the darkness. The sword blade was slammed, and the green vines slammed a touch, but was corroded by the black fog, and sizzled. "Still, it's clear. Let's cover it up." Xiaoqing gritted her teeth. Panoramic view of the journey through the sea of brains, the self-destruction of the temple, the aerial ballet in the forest, the flood paradise of the swamp, the thunder and tug of war in the village, the earth walls of the tug of war in the ancient temple, the ice show on the plains, the sandstorm rolling in the desert, the pet garden in the outpost, the elemental union of the throne hall. Every backlash is a growing fire, clumsy turning into a unique force. She had both hands high, and planned to make a final hand. All elements were fused, the fragments of the power stick were scattered with the artifact, and the energy scattered like a volcano spray, the soul of the element, all the experiences, fuse one blow. Break the darkness, listen to my order. The fingertips condensed the ultimate whirlpool, the fire ice wind and earth light summoned the black crystal, the whole element intersected into a rainbow dragon roll, the surface was flashed and colorful light fog, the hot waves and cold winds pressed the earth and the shaking light burst summoned the beast shadows alternated, the air twisted into a buzzing storm, the stone pillars in the hall were shaking, and the lava river boiled like a roar. "Go!" Xiaoqing pushed it hard, and Long shouted and shot at the Demon King. It can retaliate like fate, and its energy reverses into a big explosion. The turbulent giant shattered the arch, and the whirlpool exploded around her to form a grand smoke-filled celebratory celebrities. The rainbow light fog danced in the sky, the fireball ice arrow wind blade earth block light spot summoned small animals fragments like rain of smoke. The explosion special effects of the red blue green yellow white gold black veil were fierce, reflecting the Demon King's palace as if it had been the New Year's fire festival. The hot waves, frost wind, sand and shadows alternated, making the black fog evaporated into colorful fog, the vines burned and shattered, and the shadows scattered. The smell of scorched earth, frost in the air was mixed, the hall was shaking like an earthquake, and the red light rose like a lava river, making the devil stunned. "This is crazy." Xiaoqing was rolled up by the storm, and the sky turned dizzy. The little rabbit and squirrel hit the touch, the ice arrows were slamming in the sky, and the fireballs exploded into the Venus rain. She screamed and laughed, "Haha, backfires. But this time, I'll kill it." The inner energy changed like a fire. Clumsiness is no longer a burden, it is my legendary charm. From urban girls to different world heroes, the smile along the way has made me the most unique savior. Panic turned into confidence, and she shouted in the air, "Team! Take advantage of the force and seal him." The devil roared, and the black fog touched the back, trying to swallow the storm. It's over. But the crisis turned. Xiaoqing was rolling, and after wearing the wind, it tightened, it stuck the devil's crown. The red cloth slams on the crown of the black stone, biting like a special harness. The throne was tilted, and she pulled hard, and the whole person was pulled towards the demon king. The ring-shaped drama exploded, swung forward, hit his black chest, and the fire swelled over the crown, and the colored fog swept into the black gem, sizzling, pulling back. The crown was tilted, the devil stumbled, and the touching hand hit his throne, and the lava sprayed burned the black gem. The crown was loose, the thorns broke, and the sound of the demon king glared red. This cloth is impossible. Yitong shook out from the smoke, her claws slammed on the crown, biting the thorn and tugging. Your clumsiness is finally a big shot, the funniest hero in history. Demon King, you can wear a stunning skill. It blinked its green eyes, and its tail threw out its vines to slam the devil's legs. It was full of praise, and its voice was particularly bright in the explosion. Xuan seized the opportunity. His long staff was green and bright, and the blade was high. Seal the sword. Xiaoqing, energy gathered. He rose, green vines scattered the smoke and fire, and the blessing of the Allen green storm, the blade turned into a sealing circle. Xiaoqing felt the team's strength injected like a warm current, and her inner climax was swelling. This is growth, it's not just a person shining, but we are together. She shouted, seal. Elemental chains, sleep forever darkness. The fireworks reached the peak, the rainbow dragon rolled backwards, turned into a colorful chain and rolled onto the demon king. The crown was pulled down by the wind, the black stone shattered into light, the demon king's body was twisted, the black fog collapsed like a smoke, his last roar, no. My kingdom. The figure turned into red and black fragments, sucked into the core of the fort collapsed, the red and black crystals shattered into powder, the dark power receded like a tide, the sunlight in the palace cracked from the top of the arch, and the golden shackle reflected everything. Demon King Zhanbei. The black fog evaporates, and the shadows of the mainland instantly dissipate, the lava rivers in the distance are flat and streams, and the vines wither into ashes. As soon as she fell to the ground, she was wearing a wind and opened the crown pie. She sat on the ground, panting and laughing. Ha, we won. The fireworks, specializing in the devil. Her inner reflection was like a warm sun, looking back at this journey to the world, from the embarrassing self-destruction of the call to the backlash of laughter in each scene, I learned to embrace clumsiness. It is not a flaw, it is my charm, which makes crisis miraculous and makes the team more tight. I am no longer that urban girl, but a legendary hero, the funnest kind. As the joy of growing up swelled, she shone brightly and hugged Yitong. Thank you, this journey is so worth it. Xuan held the sword and patted her shoulders, his eyes warm like a brother. Xiqing, you are our leader. Clumsy. That's your ace. Aaron smiled, and the flickered leaves, hero of light, the great land will always remember your legend. Yitong licked her claws and slapped her arm with her tail. Funny hero, can you retire now, right? But, the wind is still stuck. Mainland restores peace. The black fog is scattered, the sun is filled with the vast land of El, the green forest is reborn, the village is cooked and smoked, and the monster retreats to the deep mountains. The villagers of Oak Village came and shouted at the team, Smoke Warrior. Wind Hero. The children threw wild flowers, and the woman served hot soup and barbecue. The village chief held a cup, your smile is forever passed down to future generations. The devil is defeated by a piece of cloth, ha! The whole mainland conveyed her story, the clumsy female hero's smoke journey, from self-destruction to seal, and every adventure becomes a winery and laughs. Xiaoqing looked at her partners and felt unwilling and passionate in her heart. Go home? No, this is my home. The wind of the world blew her hair tightly, she clenched her fists. I'll stay. A new adventure starts now. Xuan, teach me how to sarcastically. Aaron, take me around the forest. Yitong, continue to complain about my wind. The team laughed, Xuan pointed. Of course, together. Aaron's silver hair lightly, Essence Forest is welcome. Itong hummed, okay, but don't call the duck again. The party opened the curtain at the village venue. The bonfire was beating, and the villagers played the rut piano. The rhythm was as light as a heartbeat, the barbecue was fragrant and the wine glasses clashed and the jingle was slammed. She was sunny and covered with wind and sang in the firelight, for funny legend, cheers. The laughter clinked into the night sky, and the fire, this time was set by the villagers, was set into a rainbow, reflecting her smiling face. In the world, there is a clumsy hero who has been entangled with her team, starting a smile and adventure without any silence. The feeling of satisfaction is like a warm current that never dissipates. Number of words, 1248.